To the Docklands for Carlton and North Melbourne. Good night.
ABC Sport now has its very own newsletter, and we'd be pumped to have you on board.
Woohoo!
The ABC of Sport will provide a wrap of all the best stuff that's happening in sport every week.
Simply go to abc.net.au/connect
and get ready for a sport hit in your inbox every Friday.
Get on board with the ABC of Sport newsletter.
For content that makes you think.
Or allows you not to.
This is ABC Sports coverage of the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
We're gonna be kids.
Grandstand AFL.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Couple of teams looking for a bounce-back performance on Saturday night football in round 7 at Docklands as Carlton, 7th on the table, 4-2 on the season, host North Melbourne with one solitary win to their name. The Blues beaten by the Dockers last week, who franked their form with a 3-point win over Geelong earlier today. North Melbourne thrashed by that same Geelong team down in Hobart last Sunday afternoon. They meet here under the roof on a cold winter's evening, or cold autumn evening, and North have won their past 6 again, or 6 their past 7 against the Blues. They won last year with Nick Larkey booting 7 goals. The Roos fans will be hoping for a repeat of that performance tonight, but they're not going to have it their own way. They've been hit with a late change as well as a couple of injuries throughout the week. Aidan Corr comes out of the selected side for North Melbourne through the health and safety protocols. Miller Bergman to debut, the 38th pick in the draft last year out of Berwick. Lifelong North Melbourne supporter gets his chance in the blue and white tonight. For Carlton, also a laid out. Zach Williams goes out with Achilles soreness. Lockie Plowman comes into the team. Jack Carroll to debut, the lefty from East Freo in his second season on the list. Matt Cottrell, the sub for the Blues, and Artu Bosanavalangi, the sub for the Roos. Joel Peterson with you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company throughout the evening. 0437 774 774 if you want to get in touch at any point. Calling it with me tonight is Jess Webster. G'day, Jess.
G'day, Joel. Good to be here under the roof. It's quite miserable outside, so I'm happy to be indoors this evening. Looking forward to this one. Obviously, Carlton wanting to bounce back after that disappointing loss last week. I'm really looking forward to seeing these two debutants. Jack Carroll for Carlton, huge raps on him. And as you just touched on, Miller Bergman for North Melbourne. His father, Shannon, was drafted to North in 1989. Didn't play a game, but his son gets his chance tonight. Really looking forward. I love that family history, so looking forward to seeing what they produce.
Yeah, the 19-year-old's been a shinboner all his life, supporting the Roos, and gets his chance tonight as a late inclusion for North Melbourne. We're in good hands in our experts on Grandstand AFL this evening. We've assembled the Defenders Union, the 3-time All-Australian from the Carlton AFLW side, the skipper Karen Harrington. Hello, Kez.
Hello, Joel. Great to be here, Jess. So, looking forward to this one. It's going to be a fun night.
And a lifelong Carlton fan as well is Kez. So looking forward to seeing her boys out there tonight. And Chris Johnson, the 3-time premiership star from the Brisbane Lions, has elbowed 19 people out of the way in the aisles to get here after being stuck in a bit of traffic. Good to have you with us, Jono.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. Yeah, I had to do some illegal turns and possibly some illegal overtaking through the streets of Melbourne. But good to be here. Good to be alongside Kez, and obviously you're great too, as always. But yes, another lifelong Carlton supporter as well, sitting in the box as well. Used to love watching Carlton play, but I'm really interested about Carlton at the moment, obviously, because a good mate is coaching the team, and I've got another mate there as an assistant coach as well. So it's interesting to watch. I've watched them a couple of times this year. Haven't seen North Melbourne live. Seen them on TV. So I'm trying to see what I can sort of pick out of this game around what they're going to produce coming tonight. Obviously, it's going to be a one-sided affair, or that's what we're coming to see. But I think North Melbourne, I'm just looking to see what sort of one-percenters and attitudes and stuff like that go. How do they go about it tonight?
The effort needs to be there for the Roos. And I guess when you're coming up against Curnow and Mackay, Kez, you want all your key defenders out there. It's not something the Roos have got this evening. That'll be a big challenge for them.
It certainly will. Obviously, they would have had their plans coming in during the week about how they were going to play Curnow and Big H as well. But we can't forget that Jack Silvani comes in as the third tall, and he's likely to bob up and kick a bag today as well. So it will be an interesting challenge for who they've assembled, the North Melbourne defenders tonight, and good luck to them.
Blues up the back in terms of tips for both of you?
Yeah, I would have thought so. I would have thought Carlton's going to be the stronger team tonight, as long as they just keep doing the things that they're supposed to do, not go out of their outside their game plan.
So the Blues looking to bounce back and return to the winners list. They host North Melbourne here on Saturday Night Football. On Grandstand AFL, you're with Jess Webster.
Big night for De Koning in the ruck for Carlton with Pinnonet out. Up against Goldstein in the middle. As the umpire throws the ball into the turf. Picked out a free kick going Carlton's way to Cripps. Quick to give off the handball to Doherty, who sends Carlton inside 50 to a pack out in front. Walker fisted away by him by Curnow, but the umpire has found a free kick going North's way. Out the back is Turner for the Roos. Flares it out wide to Scott, who kicks out to left half back and finds Taylor.
So Curtis Taylor's got it for North Melbourne. 18 games last year, played everyone from round 5 onwards, kicks long up the dockside wing. Larkey the target, knocked away from him, spilt to Sard for the Blues. Handball along the boundary line. Here's the first gamer. Carroll gets crunched by Thomas. Welcome to league footy, says Taran Thomas. A minute in, Jack Carroll, he knows all about it. That is a welcome to the big league. Boundary throw in front of the interchange gates. Goldstein works his way to front spot onto Koning. Down to Simpkin. Handball to Goldstein. Handball to Greenwood. Away to Scott. Helicopters one inside 50 for the Roos. Zeebel's up to drag it in. Had front spot against Wiedering. Pulls in the mark. 45 out.
That was just good by North Melbourne there, Kez. In a stoppage like that, when you're in the middle of the ground, sometimes you panic and you just want to kick the ball forward when you're outnumbered. It was just great by Goldstein there. He was able to flesh a handball through, thread the needle, and that just sort of just worked up the link for North Melbourne coming off half-back, which put it inside their forward 50.
101st game as skipper for the Roos, Jack Zeebel. He's kicked 7 goals, 3 on the season thus far. For the first of the evening, for a bright start for North Melbourne, he just misses, tugs it left, minus score. Roos by that point through 2 minutes of the opening term.
North Melbourne really would have loved that. Slow starters in first quarters to start 2022. They look like they've got the intent early as Sard runs out from the kick in, delivers wide, nice kick. Curnow marks at right half back for the Blues, 5 metres in from the boundary. Drives it long down the line to a pack. Coming out in the front is Mackay. It spills out the back. Martin dishes off the handball to Durden, who kicks inside 50. Using his body well was Fisher, but the Roos come up with it and they might have messed it up in defence as Martin swoops on a loose ball. Now spills to Carroll, the first game. A left foot step around the body. What a start to your AFL career. Jack Carroll with the left foot snap in the pocket to get Carlton on the board as his teammates rush to him. What a bright start to your first game in the big time. Carlton 1 straight 6, North Melbourne 1 behind, 3 minutes played opening term.
It's as good a start to your AFL career as you could possibly expect there, Jono, with that one. We mentioned before that he got absolutely driven into the turf out here in the wing, but he's bounced back in. And for Carlton, their pressure in the forward half through that passage of play was really, really impressive. Zach Fisher used his body tremendously well, pushed his opponent under the ball, allowed the ball to get over the back and spill, and their crummers, Durden, Carroll and Fisher all getting involved. It's a terrific start for Carlton.
Well, he becomes a part of an exclusive group. First kick, goal. There's not too many like that, but it's an exclusive group. He was under the pump early here, but he done well there to think his way through it.
He bounced back in big-time fashion, didn't he? That is a nice response, a show of resolve from the youngster. The Blues soccer it forward out of the middle. Greenwood's going to run onto it inside the defensive 50 for the Roos. Shares the handball with Lockie Young to Simpkin and away to Turner out at right half-back. He kicks the city side wing. Good mark from Curtis. Work Doherty under the ball, cuts the kick inboard, looking for Taran Thomas, slapped away by Adam Sard for the Blues, and Carlton in possession once more. Ball in the hands of Chera, who drives it inside the 50. Walker front spot, Curnow late to effect the spoil. Ball goes to ground inside the Roos back 50. Walker controls it, handball to Scott, kicks under pressure down the outer side. And Sard's able to float in and mark between the wing and half forward for Carlton.
Chips inboard to Doherty, who's marked 2 kicks from goal. Patient, I know that was 15, a short dart to Chera, who sends it inside 50, a bullet pass And Cripps is on the end of it. He's marked 30 metres out, slide angle to the left.
Well, the reason why they're getting repeat entries here, Carlton, they're just setting up really good behind the football. They're not giving their forward opponents in North Melbourne any respect whatsoever. They're sitting like 5 to 6 metres or even 10 metres off them at any stage. So when North Melbourne do pressure that kick outside their forward 50, Carlton have just got the numbers and they've got the spread behind the football.
So Patrick Cripps, 36 disposals in their loss to Fremantle last week. And he's made a meal of this one. Not his best effort. Misses to the left for a minor score. Carlton 1-1-7, North 1 behind through 5 minutes of the opening term.
We know his set shot kicking can be a bit ropey. That certainly wasn't his best. Young to bring it in for North Melbourne. Slams it up the middle of the ground. Goldstein drags it in on the second grab. Handball's out wide to the prodigy in Horn Francis. He loops it over the top to Thomas. Thomas for North Melbourne. A handball to Zerha. Inside 50. Just inside the boundary. Spears it toward goal. Just touched on the way through. And a minor score for the Roos. 5 points the Carlton lead. 6 minutes gone in the opening term on Grandstand AFL.
Adam Sard, very, very ginger getting up in the middle of the ground there. One to keep an eye on.
So the Blues bring it back in. Doherty looking for Chera. They've spilled it though. Plowman looking for Sard with the hands, but he's set upon by 3 Roos. The umpire says I'll have a ball up 40 metres out from North Melbourne's goal. So the Roos have locked the ball inside their forward 50. It's Goldstein against De Koning again. Siebel, did he cop one high? The umpire says no. Plowman with the tackle. The umpire calls for another ball up. Still 40 metres out from goal, directly in front. Carlton with the early goal. North Melbourne are pressing inside their forward 50. Curtis on the bottom of the pack. And again, we're going nowhere. Ball up 40 metres out from North's goal.
This is good by North. They've just got to keep it in there. Keep it in there as long as they can, trying to generate something. Generate a free kick or a turnover in that forward 50.
Horn Francis got taken high. And the number 1 pick will get a free kick. 45 out, slight angle left of centre, pretty much the exact spot that Jack Siebel had the first shot of the game.
You called it there, Jono. That's exactly what they did, that repeat stoppage, and basically created something from nothing. Was able to draw a free kick, and Chera was unlucky with going a little bit high.
Led them in clearances last week with 8. Did Horn Francis, 19 disposals on average so far this season. Out of Christie's Beach, south of Adelaide. On the right boot, he's tugged that a long way. Has he just snuck in for a score? He hasn't. He's missed the entire barn door. And a 5-point margin remains through 7.5 minutes of this opening quarter.
So Doherty with footy in hand goes for a run, has a bounce and kicks it long to the wing, but it should be coming back. Goldstein marks uncontested. De Koning couldn't get there in time.
Too slow. He's got one-on-ones. He had one-on-ones there, but he was just far too slow here, Goldie.
It's a very crowded forward 50. Just has to pump it long. Goldstein to the pocket. A pack forms. It's off hands. Almost kept alive by Curtis, but does go over the boundary line for a ball in. 45 metres around from North Melbourne's goal. They've done well to lock it in.
Reckon Horn Francis has dislocated a finger. He's come off, and it looks like the little finger on his right hand is very sideways.
The umpire spins the ball back into play. Goldstein down to Zerha. He's tackled by Young. The umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up close to the boundary line, 30 metres around from goal.
So still the Roos locking it inside their forward 50. 8.5 gone opening term. Carlton by 5 points with the only goal of the quarter thus far. Plowman, the late inclusion for Williams for Carlton, lays the tackle, locks it up once more. Miller Bergman on for his first run. He was a late in for Aidan Corr for North Melbourne. Goldstein does the ruck work and the roving. Handball to Zeeble. Taylor got crunched by Owies. Didn't hear the footsteps. And another strong tackle for the Blues results in another stoppage. Still inside the forward 50 for North.
The umpire throws the ball up into the air. It spills to ground. The players dive on, and you've guessed it, we've got another ball up inside 50.
Well, you mentioned Bergman. He's sitting back. He's the spare man back in defence at the moment, sitting almost on the logo.
De Koning palms it down. Cripps gets boot to ball, but it's going to go out of bounds on the full. Free kick to North Melbourne at the junction of the 50 and the boundary line, and Curtis Taylor comes up with it. So Kicks long towards full forward. Can they get a mark? Well, Carlton can, and it's Young. Last line of defence for Carlton.
So Lewis Young goes across the defensive goal face to Newman. Spears one down the line on the outer side. Bonner did enough to knock it away from Mackay, but ball's in Carlton hands. Long kick up the wing. Silvani can't quite keep it in. And it goes out centre of the City wing. It'll be thrown back into play. It was a fast start through the opening couple of minutes. The game's really slowed down in the last few.
It suits North Melbourne, Joel. It really does. So if they can just keep getting repeat stoppages, it slows Carlton down a little bit.
A big bump from McDonald on his own teammate in Perez. Came away with the football. Handball back to Goldstein. To Greenwood. Back to Goldstein. Now to Turner. Handball onto McDonald. Down to Perez. Got it back to McDonald. Under pressure. Nunes was there. He teamed up with Cripps to force the football back for Carlton. Cripps a handball over the top to Carroll. Hooks a kick inside the forward 50. Curnow got out the back here. Collects. Missed his boot almost. Scott's there for North Melbourne. Paddles it toward the boundary line. Happy to see it out for a throw-in deep inside Carlton's attacking 50.
So Carlton lead it by 5 points. 11 minutes played in this opening term. And the goal of the game so far going to the first gamer in Carroll. The umpire spins the ball back into play. Palm down. Bonner gets there first for North Melbourne, but he's driven into the turf by Owies. Ball up. A metre still in play. Right up against the left-hand behind post. So Kennedy sharks it from the tap, but his handball goes out of bounds. And we've got a throw in 20 metres around from Carlton's goal in the left forward pocket. They lead it by 5.
Carlton got Wiedemann sitting right back behind the football.
Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington, your experts on Grandstand AFL this evening. At the stoppage, Mackay knocked it down. Perez took it for the ruse, tumbled it out to Marnie at half-back. He slams it up the outer side wing. Plowman back with the flight, knocked it to Lewis Young. To Wiedering, a bit of fleet of foot from the big defender. Sides his way through the pack, bangs it back inside forward 50. Goldstein 2 hands to it. Perez is clean through the traffic. Handball away to Thomas. Spears his kick up the line. Zeeble knocked it down on the AFL logo outer side. Inboard to Curtis. Paul Curtis handballs off to Simpkin, who was running shotgun. Goes inside the 50, looking for Larkey. Brought it to ground. Inside 50 for the ruse. Curtis continued to run. He got put down by Wiedering. And it's going to be a free kick going to the North Melbourne second gamer inside the forward 50.
Bit of defensive craft probably would have been worked on during the week, I reckon, with Lewis Young there. He went to find the body instead of the ball, and if he had to just track the ball, John, I reckon he would have taken an intercept mark.
So Paul Curtis, he was a lifelong Carlton supporter growing up, played his junior footy at Melton South. 1 goal, 3 on debut last week. Starts his approach from outside the 50 here. The left footer to get the first for the ruse. He hits the post. You could hear the crowd rising with the kick. They thought it was through. And it just slid into that left-hand goal post. 3 behinds North, 1-1 Carlton, 13 gone opening term.
So Doherty brings the ball back into the Blues, just sends it out wide, looking for Mackay, goes over his head, out the back, Bailey Scott of North Melbourne. He's tackled into the ground by Owies, and we've got a stoppage just forward of the wing, close to the boundary. Umpire tosses the ball aloft. Thomas read it well off the tap, but he's tackled into the ground by Chera. We've got another stoppage on the wing. It's Coleman Jones against Silvani. The umpire's plucked out a free kick for a hold, going to Coleman Jones. So he's got it just in front of the interchange gates on the dock side of the ground. Pumps it back into the arc for North Melbourne. Numbers favour Carlton at the drop of the balls. O'Brien to Doherty, back to O'Brien, then to Stocker. His handball misses Doherty and goes over the boundary line. Throw in 40 metres around from North Melbourne's goal.
Game of stoppages here, isn't it, Jono?
It is, and you just wonder that, you know, one team's got to sort of try to get the ascendancy up in these stoppages. You want to see someone flying through. There's no one really flying through any of these stoppages at the moment.
Who can break it open? Chera does his best. Handball Silvani to Walsh. Hooks a high kick up the wing. Martin flew in for the Blues. Couldn't take it with him. Curnow had a fumble. Spilt to Turner for North Melbourne. skies it inside the forward 50. Larkey up in front, brought it down. Coleman Jones hooks it around the corner and gets it home. The big Roo with his first goal in the blue and white. And it gives North Melbourne the lead. And finally, after dominating territory inside the forward 50, they've got their first of the game. 1-3 North Melbourne, 1-1 Carlton. We played 15 minutes in the opening term on Grandstand AFL. You're with Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Now, John, if I had asked you a question coming into the game, what do you think Coleman Jones' first goal is going to be? How much would you have put on the fact that it was going to be a crumbing at the front of the front of a pack?
A front and square crumb. Yeah,
it was
probably
a great
not.
goal.
Yeah, it was. It was. He thought his way through it nicely while he was under a little bit of pressure at the same time.
It's an interesting ruck duo as well, with Coleman Jones and Silvani going at it here. 1 up for Coleman Jones.
So back into the centre. Let's see who can win this one. I might have to give that one to Silvani. Straight down to Walsh, to Chera, who gives it back to Walsh. He drives it long into attack for Carlton, working their way to front position is Turner of North Melbourne. Marks inside defensive 50. Short kick straight up the middle, finds Stevenson at centre-half back. He kicks short on the 45 to Horne-Francis inside the centre square. Just forced to hold it up a little bit, Horne-Francis, as the numbers flood back. Now called a play on. And delivers a nice pass to Larkey, who's worked his way up to half forward, spins around and sends it into the pocket, looking for Zeeble coming across Wiedering. Takes the defensive mark of the Blues.
Well, it was really good work there done by the Carlton defence there. They just got on the Zeeble. Zeeble's going to have the run on it, but they actually just engaged him so he didn't have that run and jump at the ball.
Awkward kick out from Wiedering under pressure. Spilt to Owies, tackled by Simpkin. And a ball up.
Just got to be better with the forward entry there, Gaz, because it wasn't even to his advantage. It just was sat on top of his head.
Coleman Jones reaches over the top. Down to Chera. Carroll, and now to Walsh. The Blues link up by hand. Walsh kicks to centre-half forward, and Harry slides out and takes it. 54 from home. What does he see inside the arc? Got a lead from Durden to the pocket and from Curnow. And the Coleman medalist has Newman going past. He elects to load up from inside the centre square. Send it long, strong and straight. Mackay lasers one from long distance. And Carlton back in front again here in the opening term. 2-1-13. North Melbourne 1-3-9. We played 17 and a half minutes.
Well, that's the difference. I talked about the forward entry there, Kaz, of North Melbourne, where they just sat it on his head. But there, I think it was, coming with the ball there, I can't remember. I think it was Welsh who got it from the stoppage. He just put it out in front of his teammate there, Mackay, so he could actually run onto it and mark that ball. And that's the big difference between both teams at the moment. I think Carlton going forward are able to get it to advantage of their forwards, where I think North Melbourne, they just want to make sure that they're getting it in there rather than actually using some sort of smarts about how they enter their forward line.
Chris Johnson on Grandstand AFL as we're back in the middle. Silvani just kicks it off the ground. It tumbles inside 50 for the Blues. But the North Melbourne have come up with it. Davies Uniacke from left half back sends it out wide looking for Marnie. Good work by Sard. Brings the ball to ground and now Carlton come up with it. Fisher goes backwards to Doherty, who delivers a nice ball to Carroll. Fisher kept running and received the hands. Delivers to Martin at centre half forward, who gives it back to Fisher, who kept running. Kicks it long into the pocket. In the pack is Curnow. Curnow marks 10 metres out from goal on a 45-degree angle to the left.
It's almost up.
Quickly plays on a right foot snap around the corner and drives it home for Carlton's third. So Carlton moved to 3-1-19, North 1-3-9. 19 minutes played opening term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Sorry, Jess, I should have known that Kerno was going to play on and kick around his body then, shouldn't I? That was a really open passage of play, Jono. It's probably the last 2 goals that Carlton's kicked have been, as you said, we've been able to open up from the stoppage and be able to kick forward to space into the advantage of the forwards. And in that example there, even though it was a contested mark with a long kick coming in, it was still to the advantage of Kerno, to his strengths, and because of the quick ball movement, he was able to get some certainty in the pack and be able to rise up and take a great mark.
He was always going to play on when they
they
never, it's the drop punt. It's just going out of the game for shots on goal now, isn't it? It's all across the body.
So Carlton by 10 points. Back in the middle, Cripps tries to bullock his way through the stoppage against another hard nut in Simpkin. Ball spills back into the mess, and Davies Uniacke was going to get his first kick of the night, and Simpkin took the advantage from the free kick. Sent a ball into no man's land inside the forward 50. Newman's up to meet it for the Blues. Gathers nicely. Left foot kick directed down the line, and Martin's pulled in the one-hander. He bodied up Young and pulled it in with his right mitt. Hander off to O'Brien, who kicks inside the 50. Turner can't take the mark. Durden brought it to ground. Then the kick on goal for the Blues comes from Carroll again. Owies it was who ran onto it. And Carlton have really broken this open here in this opening term. After a stalemate through the first 15 minutes or so, Carlton have kicked 3 quick ones and they lead by 16 points. 4-1-25 to North Melbourne 1-3-9.
Well, it all comes back to Kaz. It all comes back to Jack Martin winning that one-on-one contest and then moving the ball on so quickly and then forcing the North Melbournes to be one-on-one all in their defensive 50, and just a quick little snap on goal. There wasn't really a lot of time for him to think about what he needed to do. He just needed to work his way through it and actually then just kick that goal and actually line it up. Owens, very, very smart and very, very clever. He's shown us all year this year that he's a smart, small forward.
So goal number 5 for Owies in season 2022 as Carlton win it out of the middle again. Cripps to Fisher. Ball inside 50, fisted away from Owies. Jaconi with the big fend off. Then with the right foot snap. Bounces in front of Durden, who just gets boot to ball. Young's there for North Melbourne, but he overruns it. Martin has a go off the deck or inside the goal square. It's smothered across the line. Desperate defence by North Melbourne. Carlton move to 4-2-26. North 1-3-9. 22 minutes played opening term.
McDonald to bring it back into play for the Roos. Best and fairest winner a couple of years ago. Kicks long up toward Larkey, engaged with Wiedering, who slaps it down. Sard's there to provide support for Carlton, to Doherty, who kicked it off the face of Jack Marnie as he dived across the ball. And the ball trickles out of play in front of the interchange gates, where it'll be thrown back in. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Carlton's AFLW captain Karen Harrington and Brisbane Lions premiership defender Chris Johnson, your experts. At the stoppage, De Koning might have had the better of it in ruck. Straight down to Simpkin. Eleni Glufsis crosses the arms and she'll ball it up on the AFL logo.
De Koning against Coleman Jones. A beautiful spin out of traffic by Simpkin. Gives it to Thomas. He can't find a target with the handball. Simpkin now kicks off the ground, but it's intercepted by Wiedering, who kicks outside defensive 50 for Carlton to Cripps. Had to be quick to get away the handball to Kennedy, who releases Sard by hand. His rush kick, though, is picked off by Bailey Scott of North Melbourne. He's marked on the logo. On the wing, wheels around from the centre square, goes long again. Zeeble has 3 to beat, but it spills over the back to Larkey, who's got to run into an open goal. So Larkey puts through North Melbourne's second. It's Carlton 4-2-26, North 2-3-15, 24 minutes played opening term. Your experts are Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Jono, I reckon Carlton won't like to review that one on Monday. They had a 3-on-1 and just all 3 Carlton defenders just flew for the ball. Absolutely didn't need to. 1 or 2 in the contest and 1 to stay down to stop exactly what Larkey was able to do, get the ball over the back and run into an open goal. Interestingly, I'm watching Greenwood go to Cripps at every stoppage around the ground, so I think he's been tasked, not necessarily with a tag, but certainly some level of accountability at the stoppage as well. Cripps is up to 4 clearances at the moment.
Well, one thing as you would know, Kez, in the rule book as a defender, never let it over the back, and that's what they done. They let it over the back, and their forwards just ran onto it.
I even think the Carlton fans booed their own defenders, I thought I heard.
They're a pretty vicious bunch at times, the Blues fans. North, a quick kick out of the middle. It'll come back, though, for Carlton. Chera, a 7-metre kick to Newman. An underground hand pass was clever to Sard, who's bursting away through the middle of the ground and got tripped by Zeeble in a desperate attempt to try and tackle him. Was it a bit of a professional foul?
Yeah, I think it was. He's very clever, Zeeble, and I knew he never knew he was going to get him, and he almost pretended like he actually lost his footing and he couldn't keep it.
He knew it was the only moment he had to try and even get a hand on him. Long kick inside the 50. Mackay in the pack claimed it, not paid. He turned straight into Bonner, who wrapped him up. Carlton fans not happy that Big H wasn't paid the mark. And we'll have a ball up 15 metres out from the Blues' goal.
Yeah, in all fairness, there's probably about 6 sets of hands up there.
So Coleman Jones palms it down. Perez goes off the ground. It trickles towards the boundary, and the umpire has paid deliberate. So Zach Fisher claims the free kick for Carlton. He's got it 45 metres out from goal against the boundary. Wheels around to give himself a bit more of an angle. Lets it fly, but it misses everything. I thought from this angle it almost snuck through for a behind, but out of bounds on the full, and Young to take the free kick for North.
So Lockie Young directs it towards Simpkin, who got upstairs over Fisher and takes the mark. Had to work for it. He goes now to Curtis, who's run down by Sard, got the handball away, and Eleni Glufsa said not quickly enough, holding the ball. Paul Curtis is a little bit bemused by that.
Yeah, so am I, to be honest. I thought he had probably 2 seconds with Sard on his tail. He still disposed of the ball correctly, Kez, and I think it was, for me, play on.
Yeah, a bit stiff for mine.
Sard wheels away, lashes a left foot kick inside the 50. Out the back, Bonner almost took it. Durden throws a boot at it. Looked like he was volleying that toward goal. North's defence stands tall for the moment at least. Turner to Bonner. Long kick outside the defensive 50. Davies Uniacke drags Stocker across the line. And we'll have it thrown back into play between the wing and half forward, city side of the ground. Blues into attack. They lead 4-2-26 to North Melbourne 2-3-15. 26 and a half gone in the opening term.
Umpire flicks the ball back into play. Cripps read it best, gives it to Walsh. Wasn't sure where to go, has a fumble, gives it to Stocker, then gets it back. Defensive hand pass to Plowman, who chips it forward and finds Chera. Carlton fans want 50 years held up. 80 metres from goal, low ball inside the arc. Cripps kept running, got hands to it, couldn't bring down the mark. Ball spills out to Greenwood of North Melbourne. His kick, though, has got to be picked off by Fisher at the top of the arc. Flares it out wide to O'Brien. Is marked 52 metres out from goal. Delivers into the pocket where Martin is in space and marks just inside the boundary, 10 metres around from goal.
A lot of ball watching there by the North Melbourne Footy Club. They've got every play on the ground bar one. Centre half back to the goal line and weren't able to get back and find a loose player. They all were just zoning off.
So Martin curls it around the corner beautifully. Carlton have their fifth, 5-2-32, North Melbourne 2-3-15. 28 minutes played in the first term. The margin's now 17 points.
Yeah, I'd agree with you there, Jono. North Melbourne players sounding like witches' hats, weren't they? It's what Lockie O'Brien's in the team for, is his elite left kick. That's always been one of his absolute weapons, and it was on full show there. I don't know how Jack Martin managed to sneak into the pocket on his own, but he's done a good job to find the ball where he did, and to be laced out by Lockie O'Brien was a terrific kick. But North Melbourne certainly need to do a far better job of locating their opponents within the forward 50. I think the focus is so much on Harry Mackay and Charlie Curnow that they do tend to forget about the other forwards that at the moment are doing the damage.
So Carlton with 4 of the last 5 goals in the game to lead it by 17 points. Bounce goes a little to the left, favours the Blues, who come away with it through Kennedy and Walsh. High kick toward half forward. Cheris besieged in a tackle by Flynn Perez. Sandhurst Dragon, one of the oldest footy clubs in the state. Up they go. Goldstein in ruck for North Melbourne. Palms it down to Thomas. To Larkey. Doesn't mind kicking a goal against the Blues. He's got it a long way from home here, though, inside the centre square. Oh, and he's kicked it straight into his opposite number there in Plowman, who ran the kick down. Spills to Scott on the wing for North Melbourne. To Perez, and his kick's run down by Nunes. Good pressure from the Blues, and they force it out in front of the interchange gates for a throw-in.
Just too slow by Larkey there, getting it forward. He should know as the forward that he's got one-on-ones behind him. So when he took that mark, he should be instinctively just turning and going and giving his forwards an opportunity to go one out with the defender.
Goldstein palms it down, but it's sharked by Kennedy of Carlton. His handball can't find a target. Greenwood just hacks it out of the congestion. But it goes straight to O'Brien, who's wrapped up in a tackle. We've got a ball up inside the centre square, just forward of centre. North Melbourne in attack. Goldstein palms it down to Horne-Francis. He's going nowhere. Tackled by Chera, who's dragged it in. The umpire says, I'll have it. Throw up, inside the centre square. 60 metres out from North Melbourne's goal.
Pretty good against the old mob last week, Adam Chera. 30 plus, and fair to say they're flying, the Dockers at the moment. Goldstein from the stoppage to Horne-Francis, hooks it high inside the forward 50. Plowman's across to Mark. Not often you see him out there without the long sleeves on. Must be pretty comfortable under the roof tonight for Lockie Plowman. Used to some cold weather is the boy from Macedon. Kicks it up the line for Carlton, up the Dock side. Walker, two hands to it, couldn't take the mark. McDonald wobbles it to back toward forward 50 for North Melbourne. Walsh fell over at the critical moment. Clean with the hands to Cripps, who feeds it inboard. Chera's going to have to be quick. He was, and he turned it over to Horne-Francis. Then he dives across the kick of Horne-Francis. Gets it back for Carlton. De Koning gives it back to North Melbourne. All on the AFL logo Dock side. Horne-Francis' handball inboard. Gee, Cripps went hard there at Greenwood. Knocked the football loose. Horne-Francis goes in again, tumbles it toward the forward 50 for the Roos. Great tackle, Simpkin, got Doherty and got him holding the ball. Free kick to the Roos to go to Jai Simpkin at left half forward.
He's got to move it quickly, and he does. Simpkin goes inside 50. Roach going back again. Lockie Young. Larkey is claiming a free kick for a hold, didn't get it. And Young flares it out wide to O'Brien. From the left back pocket, long kick down the line looking for Martin over his head. Turner out the back for the Roos. Skirts the boundary line, then pumps it back inside attack for North Melbourne, and the crowd tells the story out of bounds on the full free kick to Carlton in the left back pocket.
I think the Kangaroos have got to move away from long balls inside their forward 50 because at the moment Carlton defenders are just reading it far too easy.
It's all pretty predictable, isn't it? The North Melbourne attacking method. Long kick down the line, free kick to the Blues here. Mackay's got it. The Carlton coaching staff wandering to the bench. In the other game tonight, quarter time between the Saints and the Power. Max King and Dan McKenzie with the goals for the Saints, and they lead 2-3 to 2 behinds with one in the books up in Cairns. Mackay's kick cut off by Goldstein at half-back for North Melbourne. The veteran going back into the middle, and he's got 7 disposals and 12 hit-outs in the opening term. The former All-Australian couple of time best and fairest, kicks it straight back to Mackay. To end the opening term, that started with a flurry and then slowed down in the middle stages. North Melbourne owned the territory but couldn't get the score on the board. And Carlton closed with 4 of the final 5 goals in the quarter. And at quarter time under the roof here at Docklands, it is Carlton by 17 points, 5 goals to 32 to North Melbourne 2-3. 15. All single goal kickers for the Blues. Owies, Curnow, Martin, Carroll on debut with his first kick in league footy, and Harry Mackay. For North Melbourne, Nick Larkey has one, and Callum Coleman-Jones with his first goal in North Melbourne colours. Earlier today, Freo winners over Geelong by 3 points, GWS by 10 goals over the Crows, and Melbourne by 10 points over Hawthorn on a big day of sports. All the second quarter action coming up next. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Ready for some new adventures? Back Roads is back. From From the macho mining town of Tom Price in WA to outback Queensland and Tasmania's Cradle Mountain, join me, Heather Hewitt, and some of my fellow guest explorers for a journey to some of this country's most remote towns, full of surprising and memorable characters.
All new Backroads. New adventures Monday nights on ABC TV and streaming on ABC iView.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
But the Roos come up with it. They might have messed it up in defence as Martin swoops on a loose ball. Now spills to Carroll, the first game. A left foot step around the body. What a start to your AFL career.
Turner for North Melbourne. Skies it inside the forward 50. Larkey up in front. Brought it down. Coleman Jones hooks it around the corner and gets it home. Down to Chera. Carroll and now to Walsh. The Blues link up by hand. Walsh kicks to centre half forward and Harry slides out and takes it. 54 from home. And the Coleman medalist has Newman going past. He elects to load up from inside the centre square. Send it long, strong and straight.
To Martin at centre half forward, who gives it back to Fisher, who kept running, kicks it long into the pocket. In the pack is Curnow. Quickly plays on a right foot snap around the corner and drives it home for Carlton's third. Bailey Scott of North Melbourne is marked on the logo. Wheels around from the centre square, goes long again. Zeeble has 3 to beat, but it spills over the back to Larkey, who's got to run into an open goal. Flares it out wide to O'Brien, is marked 52 metres out from goal. Delivers into the pocket where Martin is in space and marked just inside the boundary. So Martin curls it around the corner beautifully.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
First quarter in the books here at Docklands. Carlton by 17 points, 5-2-32 to North Melbourne, 2-3-15. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Brisbane Lions Premiership player Chris Johnson and Carlton AFLW captain Karen Harrington, your experts. Big day of footy in the books. 5 games on this Saturday. Freo. Gee, wasn't that a statement down at Kardinia Park this afternoon? 3-point winners in a very hard-fought one over the Cats, really announcing themselves as one of the sides to watch in this 2022 season. The Giants back on the winners list in a big way by 59 points over the Crows. And the game that much of our audience will have joined us from today, Melbourne by 10 points over Hawthorn. The game at the moment in progress is a couple of minutes into the second term up at Kazali Stadium in Cairns. 2-3-15 the Saints, their home game tonight against Port Adelaide, 2 behinds, Mackenzie and King with the goals for St Kilda. In the NRL today, the Warriors in a thriller over the Raiders 21-20. The Bulldogs narrowly edged out the Roosters, who handed another defeat 16-12. And there's a game in Darwin tonight, the Eels and the Cowboys, and it's the Cowboys 2-0 through the opening 20 minutes. We'll keep you across the NBL tonight as well. Many of our Tasmanian audience will be interested in how the Jack Jumpers are going to go. Game 2 of their playoff series against Melbourne United. United took game 1 pretty convincingly. That game down in Hobart has just tipped off, so we'll keep you across the NBL tonight as well. Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington are your experts for their reflections on the opening term that sees Carlton hold a 17-point lead.
It's been a bit of an interesting start to the game. Both teams have almost employed the same defensive structure, so they're setting a loose behind the ball. What they're trying to do is trying to zone off as best they can so that it's not easy for either team to be able to get a run on. Across the stats, it's pretty even in terms of clearances and inside 50s and those sort of things. The thing that's setting Carlton apart at the moment is that they're 63-39 uncontested possessions up over North. So when Carlton have been able to get some uncontested possession outside the stoppage, they've been really damaging. They've got 5 individual goal scorers, which is pretty impressive for a first quarter as well. So I'm really interested to see the way that Greenwood, if he continues to go to Cripps at the stoppages. Cripps he's had 11 disposals and 5 clearances so far and is really leading the way there. Simpson's got 4 himself. So really interesting.
Yeah, well, what I want to see is, and we spoke about North Melbourne at the start of the game, is I reckon their endeavour, their commitment, it's all been great, but I think forward to centre, Kaz, they're just not going forward with enough urgency for me. I think that's what they need to do. They've gone forward in their forward 50, I think 14 times for only the 5 scoring shots. So they need to get a little bit more return for the inside forward 50s, and I think it's just slow, and they need to run and break lines potentially and hit it on a lead, and a lot of their forward entries have been high and sort of loopy kicks, which is allowing the Carlton defenders to come third across or fifth man across or fourth man across, so they need to actually get it in there a little bit quicker. Carlton are going very well. They're moving the ball well off half-back.
Second term underway. Perfect bounce in the middle as Goldstein and De Koning crash into each other. Kennedy goes in for the Blues, forces it out to Cripps by hand to Walsh, who slips the tackle and dishes it off to Cripps again. Chips it over the top. Lovely kick into the path of De Koning, who drifts forward for Carlton. He's got an 80 from home. Has runners on the outside as well. Cripps feeds it out wide to Doherty. Doherty jabs it inside the 50 to Mackay, who charges out from full forward and marks 40 out, 45-degree angle right of centre.
Well, that just comes back to weight of numbers. From the stoppage, Carlton just had the weight of numbers really streaming forward over that half-forward flank, and they were just able to work it out. And it was just about a forward leading up, and they're just very, very good with their forward entries at the moment, Carlton. They're hitting targets all over the ground.
So Harry Mackay, it's a wheel around from long distance. Hits the fat side of the footy and it goes across the face, and it just sneaks in for a minus score. Carlton 5-3, North 2-3. Scoreboard's got that on the wrong team there, so the margin's 18 points, not 16, as the scoreboard would have you believe.
That was a 45-metre shot across the body.
So long kick outside defensive 50. Larky claimed the mark, but it wasn't paid. Simpkin goes off the deck, but it's going to be picked off by Newman of Carlton. His handball inboard to Kennedy, who releases Sard. Long kick inside 50. Mackay's going to have a jump at it out the back as McDonald of North Melbourne takes the defensive mark and then flares it out wide and finds Stevenson a left half back.
Just going back to that shot, I just don't understand it. Across the body, 45 metres out from goal. I just don't understand it. I think you're much better at a drop punt from that distance.
Stevenson kicks long to Curtis, who drives it towards half forward. It's off hands. Horn Francis collects and throws it inside the forward 50. Zerha has marked, but it's going to be a free kick to Carlton. And Lewis Young comes up with it in the back pocket.
Did a bit of ballet dancing, Lewis Young, to make sure the umpire saw the free kick. Goes across the defensive 50 to Newman, who directs it nicely to Owies. Owies flicks it on by hand to the run of Zach Fisher. He darts it up the line to Mackay, who marks in front of the interchange gates for the Blues. 3-goal ball game. Carlton ahead. 2.5 gone here in this second term. Lovely kick from Mackay to Kennedy. Marks 60 metres out. Looks up and sees who's at home. Sees the skipper in Cripps among the pack. Stevenson's there for North Melbourne. Just waltzes his way through the traffic. Kicks out toward the wing on the broadcast side. Bouncing ball, sits up for Bonner and Newman. Neither really sure who was going to go at the football. Came out to Curtis for North Melbourne. To Horn Francis. Kicks low toward Larky. Knocked away by Sard. Larky pushed him off the footy. Flicked it back to Horn Francis. On the burst inside forward 50. Pulls the kick left. Bounces it into the left-hand behind post. And we'll have a throw in deep forward for the Roos.
Gigi does that well, Sard. The closing speed that he's got to get a hand to that ball and knock it away, and then the follow-up chase tackle was fantastic.
So throw in deep inside 50 for North Melbourne. They trail by 18 points. Early stages, second quarter. The umpire throws it back into play. Goldstein takes it out of the ruck and gives it off to Zerha, who bounces it towards home. Brilliant from Zerha. It all started with Goldstein and his sense to take it out of the ruck as North Melbourne get one back. Carlton 5-3-33, North 3-3-21. 4 minutes played second term.
He's out of contract at the end of the year, Todd Goldstein. It's just a little bit of a statement that, I've still got a little bit to offer.
He has, but there's other things in his games he's got to tighten up as well. So if he wants a big contract, there's no doubt, I don't think he'll go anywhere, but to get a bigger contract, he needs to do a couple of more other things at the same time. But, geez, that was just a good fend off there by Zerha. The Carlton defender came in like he was going to give him a big bear hug and just opened his chest up to him so he could just give the big the big fend off there. But that's what they need, North Melbourne. They've gone inside their forward 50. They need to stay within touch at their scoreboard at the moment.
So they get the first of the second quarter, the Roos, and they'll take it out of the middle here as well. Big Goldie's going to earn a free kick. Stevenson comes screaming past and gets the football on a big arc. Drops a right foot kick inside the 50. Larky pulls it out of the night sky. Enter stage left Nick Larky on a looping run from full forward. Plucks it clean, 40 out, slight angle right of centre.
It was just a terrific entry, though. The trajectory of the ball was so much more direct than what it has been in the first quarter. It doesn't allow the defenders to come over the top and be able to get a fist to it. So it was a fantastic entry, and Larky's going to line up.
Kicked a career-high 7 against the Blues last year. And he's got 2 this evening, and liking his work is Larky. North with a couple of quick ones to start the second term. Close the margin to 1 straight kick. 4-3 plays 5-3. 5.5 gone in the second quarter. Your experts are Carlton's AFLW captain Kieran Harrington and Brisbane Lions premiership star Chris Johnson.
Well, you pointed it out perfectly there. It's just that low darty kick, Kez, where it's not so much sitting up in the air so defenders can actually do whatever they bloody well want. And at the moment, it actually had Wiedering that far behind him. Larky could actually run and jump at that football instead of have to engage with a one-on-one and then have a Carlton defender come over the top. But you can do that, you can do all that, but you've got to go back and kick him. And he looked very, very comfortable on having shots at goal tonight, Nick Larky.
Career goal number 98 for Nick Larky. Came into today on 96, so he might bring up the ton tonight. We'll see how we go. He's back from the middle. Goldstein, hand pass to Simpkin, who gives it to Davies Uniacke, who pumps it long towards full forwards. Free kick, North Melbourne. And who's going to claim this one? It's going to Zerha. I thought Thomas might have put his hand up, but it's going to Zerha.
They were lining up.
They certainly were. Everyone wanted a piece of it, but Zerha's got it. 30 metres out from goal, 45-degree angle to the right.
Because even though it's a free kick, but you could just see the Carlton players reading that ball quite easily, couldn't you?
Wiedering's strength is to come up when the ball's high, and he disappointed with that.
North Melbourne star duo up forward. Piling it on in this second term. Zerha's got 2 this quarter. And all of a sudden scores a level at Docklands. 5-3 apiece. We played 7 minutes into the second term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Jono, I'm a Carlton supporter, as you are. And someone asked me today, how many goals did you think that we were going to win by? And I wasn't confident that with an answer. For this exact reason, that this particular year we've been able to start games really well. The pressure's been really high, and then teams have worked their way back into the contest. Now, I don't know where they pulled that free kick from. Every player on the ground turned around, looked at the umpire and tried to work out whose kick it was. Jacob Wiedering licked his lips because he was sitting under it and took a terrific mark, like good defenders do. But this is what Carlton do, unfortunately, and they need to work through this and be able to get some ascendancy with the ball in hand, get outside and work forward like they were able to do in that first quarter.
Well, it comes back to the maturity, doesn't it? They've got to show maturity here, Carlton, and answer back quickly.
Still only a 3-quarter team. You know, when you go up against them, they'll give you a window, the Blues. Walsh curls it forward. Was he pushed after he kicked it? No, free kick's coming back to Kennedy out of the centre for the Blues, who had a really bright start to this 2022 campaign. Doherty runs shotgun past him. Kennedy feeds the handball to Doherty, goes inside the 50. Mackay nudged under the ball, no free kick. Martin comes up with it for Carlton inside the arc. Horn Francis fires in after the ball for North. It's released to Marnie. Kennedy a strong tackle at half-back as North Melbourne tried to trampoline it down the other end. And the Blues lock it up at right half-forward. Scores tied through 8.5 minutes of the second term. All 3 goals this quarter to North.
They've kicked them all in the space of about 3 minutes. There's Doherty. Hand pass backwards to Stocker, who blasts it towards half forward. Sitting underneath it is Turner of North Melbourne. Switches play to Stevenson, who's marked inside defensive 50 for the Roos. Has Bonner alongside him. Tries to draw the opponent. No one went at Stevenson, so he kicked out wide, and fisting it over the boundary line is Durden. The first game up. Bergman underneath it, and we've got a throw in just forward of the interchange gates. Carlton into attack.
Both first gamers have been made to earn their first touch, haven't they? Bergman hasn't touched it. He got shoved over the line. Carroll got smashed over the boundary line and 30 seconds later kicked a nice goal. So Miller Bergman will be hoping for much of the same at the stoppage. North Melbourne through Simpkin and then Stevenson to Davies Uniacke. Kicks long up the line and floating in from the side is Young. Lewis Young, a terrific mark. He's taken a number of them so far tonight. Then measures the kick beautifully to Kennedy, who's out between the wing and left half forward. Rolls around onto the right boot. Sends it inside the 50. Looking for Mackay over the top. Pulls it in. 35 out. As good as directly in front.
Not much Bonner could do about that. That was just all class. He got his big frame up. Couldn't get his arms around him. The size difference is probably around 10 to 15 centimetres there.
16,
there you go. And then even the size, you can just see the size of the difference between them is quite different as well in terms of their frame. So that was just a beautiful pluck out of the air in a contested situation.
And he gets the steadier for the Blues, does Harry Mackay. He's become such a dependable force up front. One in each quarter so far. And Carlton back out by a goal. 6-3-39 to 5-3-33. 10.5 minutes played in the second term on Grandstand AFL.
Something to be said about drop punts there, Jono, isn't there? We discussed that before. That's a terrific kick. Same as what we were talking about with North Melbourne before. The trajectory of the kick is to the advantage of the forward. And when you've got someone like Harry Mackay who's streaming out like he is from half forward, it's a beautiful thing to watch, isn't it?
It is. And when you've got someone with that frame down there, just put it in front of him, let him run and jump at the ball. He's going to have the upper hand on his defender every time, and it's all around the football now of the guy or the person who's delivering that football inside the forward 50.
We've got a contest at Docklands and North Melbourne emerge with it through the centre. Thomas comes streaming out of the bullseye and then pokes a kick into the pockets, fist away from Stevenson. Plowman escorts it over the line, and we've got a boundary throw-in 30 metres around from the Roos goal.
It was just a rush kick there by Thomas. He took the bounce and then he had to rush and kick the ball, and it was just a poor entry once again.
So Carlton by 6 as the umpire spins the ball back into play. Inside North Melbourne's forward 50, Zeeble fires out a handball to Taylor, screws it around the corner towards the hot spot. It bounces in front of a pack of players. Clever tap by Stevenson to Davies Uniacke. Right foot snap towards the line as a goal. Just got there in the end. And again scores a level. 6-3, 39 apiece, 12 played, second term.
What I loved about what North Melbourne did there is they held their balance around the stoppage. So Carlton players were like bees to a honeypot, all went in to try and fight half calls at the pig at the trough down at Carlton at AFLW. And North Melbourne did a fantastic job of holding their space so that when they were able to win it or the ball was flicked out and turned over by Carlton, they had players lined up ready to goal. So I'm sure if they rewatch that one during the week, they'll like where the positioning was around the stoppage, which led them to a pretty easy score in the end.
And it was just smart by Stevenson. He grabs that ball because he gets tackled straight away, but he just kept it alive, put it in the corridor where he knew he had numbers.
The other game tonight up in Cairns, the Saints by 13 points, 18 minutes played in the second term. 0437 774 774 to get involved in the broadcast this evening. Silvani does the ruck work and the roving, smashes it forward for Carlton. Mackay collected it on the bounce. Short kick to Walsh, put him under a little bit of pressure, found its way back to Silvani, and now out to Nunes, who loads up from outside 50 and almost kicked it down the race there in the right forward pocket.
I reckon he'd like that one back again. Just lower the eyes, hit one of his forwards in the centre of the ground.
We know he can kick goals from close to the boundary line, especially after the siren from the set shot. Roos bring the ball back into play quickly. Here he is again, Nunes. That's a better option. At least it didn't go out of bounds on the full. He just kicked it to the other team directly, and Thomas marks inside the defensive 50.
Getting closer.
Yes. Next one, he'll hit half volley to someone, and gradual steps.
So Thomas kicks out wide, close to the boundary line. And marking in front is Coleman Jones. Left half back for the Roos. He squares it inboard to Bailey Scott. Chips it inboard again to McDonald. Still inside the defensive arc. Now kicks long out to the wing where Stevenson's got a bit of space. And Marnie is running for him at right half forward, goes to him, and the kick is dropped the mark at the crucial moment. Allowed Doherty to come in and tackle him, but he gave away the free kick, Doherty, so Marnie has the football 60 metres out from goal, loads up, delivers to the pocket. It's not a good kick in the end. Easy pickings for Young, who marks in the last line of defence.
6 intercepts so far for Lewis Young. Swings it across the defensive 50 to Fisher on the numbers of the arc. He goes short to Newman. Slightly awkward kick. Got it off by hand to Silvani. And now by hand to Fisher. To the running machine in Lockie O'Brien in front of the interchange gates. Goes to half forward to Mackay. Strong in front of Walker. Rolls immediately. Looks for Charlie in the pocket. Got upstairs. Couldn't drag it in. Owies is there chasing it toward the boundary line. Bergman in his back. Umpire said it was okay. Marnie in defence for North. Curnow goes around the corner. 20 out from the Carlton goal. Walsh takes it. He's tackled. Umpire says ball up. Nearing full forward for Carlton. Scores tied midway through this second term. It's pretty tight stuff at the moment.
Bonner's been taken off Mackay now and Walker's gone straight to him.
So Mackay into the ruck against Coleman Jones, who palms it down to Taylor, who's ridden into the turf by Cripps. The umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up 30 metres out from Carlton's goal. Carlton fans are not happy. They wanted about 3 free kicks there. I'm not sure any of them were legitimate. As Bergman, the first gamer, roves it from the ball up, but he's kicked under pressure out of bounds on the full, and Jack Martin will take the free kick for Carlton. He's got it at the junction of the 50 and the boundary. Nearly every single one of North Melbourne's players are inside defensive 50. Now Zerha makes it all of them. So Jack Martin is probably just going to have a ping here. From the boundary. Lets it fly. It's going to go right to the line. Just misses to the right. So Carlton have regained their lead by a solitary point. 6-4-40, North Melbourne 6-3-39, 16 and a half played second term as North Melbourne bring it back in.
He knew he had it in him too. He pointed straight at the goals. Perez marks the kick in under a bit of duress. Handball off to Stevenson, who runs his measure, kicks into the centre of the ground aggressively and, well, in the end poorly, but Wiedering knocked it straight to Larkey. Greenwood took it for the Roos, tumbles it toward half forward. Zeeble chasing after it, but Plowman with a nice little spin got away from him. Got it to Walsh, who chipped it over the top on the City side wing for Carroll. The first gamer with a goal with his first kick earlier in the evening. Comes down the line for Silvani. The Blues by a point. 17 minutes gone in the second term. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster with you on Grandstand AFL. Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington, your experts, as Silvani chips short to Walsh as Carlton continue their build-up on the City side.
Walsh bombs long into the pocket. Curnow in front position, just goes over his head. Couldn't reel in the mark and spills out of bounds. Got a throw in 30 metres around from Carlton's goal. They lead it by a point. Nearly 18 minutes played in this second term. Coleman Jones against Cripps doing the ruck duties for Carlton. Runs it down nicely. It spills to Walsh. Kick around the corner is bounced over the line for a goal. Brilliant. So Carlton get their 7th. 7-4-46. North Melbourne 6-3-39. 18 minutes played second term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Well, he's doing well. He's getting around the ground. He hasn't able to affect the scoreboard just yet, but that was just clever. Quick little handball out, kept his width, and we spoke about, Kez, you spoke about North Melbourne keeping their width as well outside of stoppage, and that's what Welsh did. He just kept himself outside the stoppage. It was a clean handball out, and he measured it quite well and shepherded very well on the goal line by Curnow. So that's something Carlton needed, just to put a little bit more scoreboard pressure on. Now the margin sort of comes in a little bit closer now, but good work by the Blue Boys to hit the scoreboard.
R2 Boston-Avalungi swarming up on the bench. Looks like Miller Bergman might have gone downstairs after that heavy collision inside the forward 50 where he kicked it out of bounds on the full and got accosted. from the restart. Francis tries to force it forward for North. His kick smothered. Comes ricocheting back to Cripps. Handball off to Sard. Blasts Carlton inside to 50. Curnow in the wrestle. Bonner did well that time. Almost got out the back to Martin, who quickly applied some pressure for the Blues. And they've earned a free kick through the tackling work of Charlie Curnow, who got a hold of Young.
Just watching the replay there, Kez, I just heard it was probably more accidental more than anything else. It came in and probably kneed him in the head more than an actual tackle, a head-high tackle. It was more of a knee to the head almost, and he just came in a little bit more too aggressive. He came into it where he didn't need to.
He's kicked 5 a couple of times already this season, Charlie. So good to see him back and fit and firing. He misses that one to the right and makes it an 8-point game, ticking toward time on here in this second term.
McDonald brings it back in for North Melbourne. Goes for a bit of a run, then from the left forward pockets a long kick to the wing. It's off hands, but it spills to Curtis, who's handball looking for Marnie. He's under a bit of pressure from Newman. Did well, though, to try to give it back to Curtis, but coming through Carroll, the first gamer, it spills to Cripps. Handballs backwards to Sard. Against the boundary line to Newman. Then back to Carroll, who's forced to go around the corner with the kick. It's fisted away by Durden. Spills to Walsh. And now the players dive on it, and the logo on the outer side wing. And the umpire says ball up.
Just coming about that play you called with Curtis. He just needed to go forward. He had one-on-one forward, but he handballs backward to a player under pressure. Get it forward inside your 50.
Sub's been made, so Boston-Avalungi into the game for North Melbourne. Bergman, the first gamer, unfortunately, has been substituted out. We'll get some more information as it comes to hand. Simpkin through the middle for the Roos to Turner. Sliding in is Larkey inside the centre square. 70 from home. If he's not there, who's the target? It's going to be Zeeble in the pocket. He's got 4 to beat. Wiedering was up. Zeeble hooked his collar and dragged him down, and that was a free kick to the star Carlton defender every day of the week. He's so good to watch the way he reads the footy, Jacob Wiedering. He sends this one out toward the interchange gates on the broadcast side, and Martin gets upstairs.
He's good to watch too.
Clean pair of hands. He's an excitement machine, Jono. He was so hyped as a youngster. And, gee, Carlton would love to see more of him out of there on the park.
Just chip short to Kennedy. Plenty of numbers up ahead. So keeps this one low. Looking for De Koning. Has 3 to beat. Walker with the fist. Just goes over the boundary line. Got to throw in between wing and half forward. Carlton into attack. They lead it by 8 points. 22 minutes played in this second term. Twice scores were level when North Melbourne kicks their way back into this contest. The umpire spins it back into play. De Koning palms it down to Carroll, the first gamer. Kicks long into the pocket and falls into the lap of Curnow. Marked against the boundary line. Plays on. Curls it around the corner, and Charlie's got 2. Moves Carlton to 8-5-53. North Melbourne 6-3-39. 22 minutes played, second term.
Well, he just done his work early. He identified really quickly, and you know it's something you can't teach players. You've got to identify quickly where that drop zone is, and Curnow he identified that straight away and just held Bonner out where it was, and Bonner had no way or no chance to get there because the ball just kept tracking to that drop zone where he thought it was, and it was a great sort of, well, not a great forward entry, but it was an ugly, wonky forward entry, and then obviously he goes around and snaps it across his body. So again, the Blues, I think it's back-to-back goals now, so they're putting some more scoreboard pressure on here to North Melbourne. So they need to answer North Melbourne. Not much time left in this quarter, so they need to answer quickly.
Saw it last night. Richmond so dominant, scoring from turnover against West Coast. 5 of Carlton's 8 goals have come from that scoring source. Davies Uniacke out of the middle for North Melbourne. Finds Curtis right on the point of the square. The second gamer directs his kick toward Coleman Jones at full forward. Horn Francis comes over the top and tries to pull in a screamer. Sard there to mop things up again for the Blues. Short to Nunes, short to Cripps. Handball to Plowman, made him work. Was good enough to knock it on to Nunes, and now back to Cripps, still inside the defensive 50, under pressure, kicks the Blues up toward the wing. Martin knocked it down to Fisher, steaming onto the football for Carlton. Turns it over though. Bonner to Turner. Handball knocked down by Durden. Has to go back and get it. Feeds it to Scott. He was calm under the pressure. And he got it to Stevenson in front of the interchange.
Just chips it down the line. It's a well-weighted kick. Young marks just forward of the wing. Hugged up against the boundary line. Elects to bomb it long into the pocket out the front. Goldstein, it spills to Zeeble out the back. His handball's picked off by Stocker. His handball's picked up by Coleman Jones from the pocket. Tries the impossible. Out of bounds on the full free kick to Carlton in the left back pocket.
I'll give him one crumbing goal for the night. I think that was ambitious.
Yes.
Got his ambitions and his abilities perhaps a little bit muddled.
14-point lead to the Blues. 25 minutes gone, second term. Grandstand AFL. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson, your experts. Great to have your company on a Saturday night. Young marks it for North Melbourne, sends it back inside the 50, but Nunes is there to cut things off again for the Blues. A couple of goals against the Roos in the corresponding fixture last season. Carlton hasn't beaten North Melbourne here since 2014. It was that long ago. Lockie Henderson kicked 6 goals. Mackay marked the long kick up the line, gave it off to Cripps. Carlton tried to work it forward and it goes out of play. So it was in 2014, Lockie Henderson kicked 6. Chris Judd was still playing for Carlton. It's been a while between drinks just here at this venue for the Blues against North.
And North have won 6 of the past 7 against Carlton, so they've got the records in their favour. As the ball spills to Kennedy, to Doherty. His hand pass to Chera. That's a nice pass. Looking for Owies, but it's fisted down by Bosnavalangi, who's into the game as the medical sub. Then to Bailey Scott, now to Stevenson from the centre of the ground. Pokes a kick inside 50. It's fisted away by Coleman Jones. Sard at the back for Carlton. Handballs to Fisher, who delivers a pass out wide and finds Carroll just inside the field of play.
Comes back to forward entries again. He just sat it on his head. Just put a little bit to his left so he can actually run and jump at the ball.
Been impressed with him, Carroll. He's earned a 2-year extension in the pre-season. 41st pick in the draft in 2020 out of East Freo. 25 and 2 goals last week in the VFL. Came in for George Hewitt. Goes up the line to Durden, who kicks long, and it goes out of play. What can you tell us about young Jack Carroll, Kez?
Yeah, pretty big raps on the young fella. He's been training all off-season with Paddy Cripps over in Perth, come from the same footy club over there, and what the club's been really impressed with is, first and foremost, his work ethic. He was sort of, the knock on him last year was that he didn't quite have the aerobic tank, but he's managed to work through that this year, and clearly he's an elite left-foot kick.
Throwing it half forward for Carlton is won by North Melbourne. Stevenson's kick around the corner inside the centre square. Larkey can't go with it. And in there is Curtis and Doherty for the Blues. Stocker has a go, can't go with it. Horn Francis extracts the footy, gives it to Curtis, hooks it around the corner towards half forward. Zeeble did well to bring it to ground. Larkey at the fall of the ball. Hands it off to Davies. Uniacke has players everywhere inside 50 and Simpkin is one of them. Kicks it over the top to the goal square where Marnie is waiting. So Marnie should make no mistake from here. He's had to be moved onto the angle, marked at 1 metre outside the goal square. But he's only 4 metres out from goal. So North Melbourne need this. Carlton have kicked the last 2. And Marnie pops it through. So Carlton 8-5-53, North Melbourne 7-3-45. The margin's back to 8 points. 28 minutes played, second term.
It was more around the competitiveness of North Melbourne, I thought, Kez, just in the middle of the ground. What they were able to do is just keep the ball alive, and it all came back to, I think, Larkey. Larkey was the one that tried to keep that ball alive, and then they scrapped it forward, and then Zeeble as well. He was out of position. He competed in the air, competed at ground level. His repeat efforts there to keep that ball alive, and then they just fought their way through it. There was quite easily, there's been scenarios for North Melbourne when they've gone forward in that scenario where they've just blazed away and turned the ball over, but that there was credit to them. They had weighted numbers on their side inside their forward 50 and fought their way through it.
Chris Johnson with you on Grandstand AFL alongside Karen Harrington, your experts this evening. Walsh bursting away with the football was urged by Eleni Glufsis to stop and give it back. Does to his skipper, which is good policy. Runs through the centre circles, does Cripps. Kicks long inside the 50. Harry latches onto another, not being paid. And there's boos from the Blues fans in the stands. They thought Harry had a good bit of that. I think he did too. Ball up inside forward 50. Cripps shovels it out. Owies gives chase. So too Boston of Alungi. He's tackled by Owies and by O'Brien. And we'll have another ball up. Still inside forward 50 for the Blues. They lead by 8 points, closing on half-time. It is half-time in Cairns. Saints by 14, 3-6 to 1-4 over the Power.
Silvani with the tap. And it's straight down to Davies Uniacke of North Melbourne. A high kick into the centre of the ground. And the umpire's found a free kick going to North Melbourne. Horn Francis comes up with it at centre-half back. As players out wide, goes in that direction to Davies Uniacke. Stevenson breaks for him. It's a nice kick. Bounces in front of Stevenson. Is corralled against the boundary line, but did well to get around Fisher, and then a bullet pass to Boston of Alungi, who's marked between wing and half forward for North. Just chips it forward to Thomas. He's got it 70 metres from home, 10 metres in from the boundary. It's a crowded forward 50. So he just bangs it long to the goal square. Zerha! Couldn't reel in the mark. The players dive on, and we've got a ball up 5 metres out from the Roos goal.
Jeez, he launched himself, didn't he?
Got to earn them tonight.
You do.
The umpires are really making the players earn their paycheck. De Koning reaches up in ruck for the Blues. Goldstein tries to work his way through the stoppage. Ran into about 6 Carlton players, all intent on dragging him down. Curtis dives in on top of the footy for North. He can't get rid of it. And a ball up still at the top of the goal square for the Roos. 8-point lead to Carlton. Closing in on half-time. Can North Melbourne scrap a late one here? Curtis out along the boundary line. Looks inboard to Simpkin. Caught in all kinds of trouble. He's gone. Plowman latched onto him, wasn't letting go. And a free kick on the last line to the Blues defence.
Good confidence boost there for Plowman. Get involved in the game. Strong tackle. His teammates will love that.
So kicks outside offensive 50 is fisted away by Young, but Carlton might still come up with it. It spills to Kennedy, who's tackled by McDonald inside forward 50. And we've got a ball up 48 metres from home. I think Simpkin just hesitated for 1 second and allowed Plowman to come in and tackle him. Ball up still inside, attacking 50 for North Melbourne. As the siren sounds here at Docklands to mark a pretty entertaining first half of footy. It's Carlton 8-3, 8-5-53, plays North Melbourne 7-3, 45. Your goal kickers for Carlton, 2 each to Curnow and Mackay, and singles to Carroll, the first gamer, Walsh, Martin and Owies. And for North Melbourne, it's 2 each to Larkey and Zerha, and singles to Marnie, Davies Uniacke and Coleman Jones.
So an 8-point lead at half-time to Carlton. Miller Bergman making his way down to the race. Looks like he's maybe holding a right shoulder as he was talking to David Noble and then to Brent Harvey, who's the runner for the Roos. Disappointing to see the debut player unfortunately subbed out of the game. The other one for Carlton, Jack Carroll, is having a nice influence. Kicked a goal, 10 disposals in the opening half. He does look a handy type. The Blues by 8 points here at half-time, 8-5-53 to 7-3-45. The other game in progress at the moment, a scrappy old affair up north in Cairns. It's St Kilda 3-6-24 to Port Adelaide 1-4-10. 0437 774 774 is the text line if you want to fire a question at Chris Johnson or Karen Harrington. 0437 774 774. Jono and Kez, what have you made of the opening half?
Well, it's all. I think North Melbourne, and I spoke about it just in the pre-game, the short little pre-game we done, was just around their ability to be competitive. And I think they've been pretty well. I think I've got to tick that box for them. I haven't seen them live. It's the first time I've seen them live, and I've obviously been watching bits and pieces on TV and haven't watched the full game of them, through this season. And I thought they were going to dish up something a little bit worse than what I've seen tonight. I reckon they've been pretty good. A couple of little bits and pieces coming out of their back line, a couple of little bits and pieces coming through the middle of the ground in terms of decisions. But some of the stuff going forward looks okay, but if they can just direct that ball a little bit to the advantage side of their forward, I think they'll be okay and they'll be in the end of this game. It's just whether they can sustain those 1%ers, the pressure, staying in the contest when, the likes of Cripps and Welsh and Doherty and Sard start to lift themselves, and even Kennedy for that matter as well. So I've actually liked what North Melbourne's done and what Carlton's been able to do. I think they've just been getting away with it. I think they've just been doing enough, thinking, this is enough, this will get us over the line. I think they need to switch on a little bit more, Kez. I think there's a few players or a group of them that probably need to say, hey, let's take this upon ourselves. I know they're getting, so what's Cripper got? He's got about 21, and then you got Welshie that's had 17, 15 of Doherty as well, and then Sard 15. So I think a lot of those possessions have been almost junk possessions. They haven't impacted, apart from probably Welsh's goal. That's about it. But I reckon a lot of the others haven't been sort of possessions that impact the game. And I reckon they need to get themselves in positions where they can impact the game.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As you said, Cripps is starting to amass some possessions, but he's just accumulating them. He's not being overly damaging so far. And I think that has been put down to the fact that someone from North Melbourne, whether it has been Greenwood predominantly, they're basically being accountable for him at the stoppage. So he's not able to break forward of stoppages like we've seen him do in the last month of footy. And I echo what you said. I really have been impressed with the way that North Melbourne's been able to set up their defensive structure, particularly through the middle of the ground. They've actually done pretty well, behind the ball in their D50, but it's through the middle of the ground that's forced Carlton to stop the run and gun that they were able to get on top with doing in the first quarter, and making Carlton basically dice and slice through the middle of the ground, which they haven't been overly effective at yet. So for Carlton, the running handball or handball receives is a big stat that we look at in today's game, because what it shows is the work rate and the initiative of players to get on their bikes and get forward running with ball. And we saw Carlton was able to do that quite effectively in the first quarter. They definitely stopped and had the run out of their legs in that second quarter, which has allowed North Melbourne back in the game. So equally, I'm quite impressed with North Melbourne. I think particularly their forward entries, basically coming from the middle of the ground going forward is what's letting them down. They can tidy up that and be a little bit more efficient. Larky's doing a really great job with Wiedering. Wiedering's one of the premier defenders in the competition, and Larky's not only competing, but at times he's actually putting himself in a great position to win the contest. So he needs to be aided by his midfielders in their delivery to him, but it's going to be a pretty good second half that I'm looking forward to.
Kicking 5 straight also helps as well. So North Melbourne really taking their chances in attack, and it was 6 scoring shots to 5, but Carlton 3-3 to North Melbourne 5 straight always helps. So they're making the most of their opportunities when they get them.
They are, and they're hurting them on the scoreboard, and they're within reach. And I was thinking, geez, hopefully we've got a game. Driving here through that immense traffic I had to get through. I was hoping we hope we've got a game up to half time, because obviously we've seen Friday night and it was so one-sided, and I started thinking about that and I thought, this is going to be fun tonight. But it's actually been good to watch North Melbourne and to see a couple of their young fellas how they go about it. My question now would be on Carlton and what we've known, Kez, over the history of since we've been travelling over to the West and playing football, is the return game. The return game back here or back to Brisbane or back to New South Wales or wherever it is quite difficult when you've played over there and when it's been a hard and tough game. So going to be interesting to see what Carlton's like in the second half.
Joel might correct me on this one, but have Carlton won a third quarter this season?
No, they haven't. So they're 0-6. They're last in the competition, and they've conceded a differential on average of 19.5 points in third quarters. The only problem with that is North Melbourne are 17th. They've only won 1.
Okay.
So Carlton are a chance to win 1.
They're a chance to get on the board here, Jono. They are a chance to get on the board.
Well, there you go. And the last time I seen Carlton here live, I think it must have been against the Bulldogs. And as you said, Kez, that they get themselves in front and then they drop away. And I watched them in that game there. And look, they're in front a little bit. They haven't been impressive too much, but they've been in front a little bit, and now are they going to drop away this second half? And it'd be interesting to see what Vossi and the rest of the coaching staff will do. But certainly their forwards, I don't think they're trying to isolate their forwards. I think they've got winners. They've got Curnow and Mackay. I think they're the winners, because I don't think Bonner and I don't think Walker can go with them. So for mine, what I'd start to look at, I'd try to isolate those two deep and get your smalls up the ground and get them up the ground so they can run and carry the ball through the middle of the ground and get it in one-on-one.
The Bonner matchup is a nightmare if you're a North Melbourne spot. I mean, 188 centimetres,
Yes.
and Mackay's 204 and has the reach and the length. And
but then you can stretch them even more. You can put Silvani down there. You can put a couple others down there as well. DeConey as well at the same time and stretch them to the max.
At the other end, Lewis Young's been really good for the Blues, Kes.
He has, and he's doing exactly what he was brought in to do, and that's to be an intercepting defender. He's never going to take the opposition's best forward. He's going to take the second or third because they've got such quality down there with Wiedering and Doherty. I've seen a little bit different role for him tonight. He's actually getting far higher up the ground, playing at the back of stoppages than what he's done in the first part of the season. Perhaps that's because Plowman's come in and I guess taking a bit more of a lockdown defender role than obviously without him last week. So it's interesting. I really like the work of Young. I think that him and Wiedering, plus obviously Plowman coming in this week, that they're working really well. They're starting to do what Melbourne do, which is set up really, really well down the line behind the ball. You can see them starting to trade off. They're dropping a player. Wiedering's often the one who drops behind the ball. They're starting to point and communicate and be able to basically play as if they're attached by strings, which is something that you want to see if you're looking in the coach's box or a Carlton supporter in the stands, and you look down and you can see that the ball's 80 metres away, but the defenders are organised. They look like they're in tune with each other. It's really good, and I think that Lewis Young has done a terrific job.
You think about Carlton's defence being a problem at times, not necessarily the players actually playing in the back six that are part of the problem. In the NBL, it's into the second term. The Jack Jumpers, the Tasmanian team, 30-24 over Melbourne United in Game 2 of their playoff series. In the other game tonight in the AFL, 3-6-24 St Kilda to 1-4-10 Port Adelaide at half-time. Now, Jono, before we go to the news at half-time, I know you've been to a lot of junior football. You would have set goals up at Auskick and all that kind of thing.
Sure did, mate.
What is going on down here on the forward 50? These goals closest to us, we've got the two goalposts that would be, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 metres apart, and the left-hand behind post about 10 metres away from the goalpost.
Yeah, I can't really see that, Joel. They've got a reflection here. Oh, yes. Yeah, there's a big difference, isn't there?
There's about a 3-metre gap between the right-hand goalpost and the right-hand behind. We need some kind of audit on the Auskick games so we're not having scoring problems out there at the moment. They look okay at the other end, but I don't know, the parent goal umpiring at this end, I think he's got a bit of an issue with his posts where he's skewed them drastically to one side, and they've just kicked a behind through the narrow side, the blue team there. So I don't know. I'm not sure how you go setting up the posts for Auskick, Jono.
Yeah,
I reckon yours would be a bit straighter than that.
No,
though.
they'd be very, very straight. I'd have the goals a lot more wider than what they are out here, so the kids have got more of a chance to kick a goal than a point. So it's actually good to see the Auskickers. A lot of Auskickers starting up around the country today. I got a mate call that his son's in Denmark, Western Australia, and he was really, really pleased to go and this is the grandson of the great Crackers Keenan.
There you go.
Thomas Keenan was starting his first Auskick today, and guess what jumper he wore down? A Port Melbourne jumper down there. So him and his older sister Molly went down and had their first Auskick plant down there. So it's starting around the country. It's good to see the kids out there.
Community footy's back, and Auskick's a big part of that, as we know. Half-time here at Docklands, 8-point lead to Carlton, 8-5 to 7-3. Entertaining second half could be on the way between the Blues and the Roos. That's all on the other side of the latest from ABC News.
ABC News with Satyam Weinstein. The Prime Minister is dismissing the opposition's plan to set up a royal commission into the robo-debt scheme by the end of the year. Labor has been calling for an inquiry into the scheme, which unlawfully claimed nearly $2 billion in debts against Centrelink recipients. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese is promising to establish a royal commission by December if he wins the election, saying people deserve to know why the program was established and any harm that it's caused. Scott Morrison says there's no need.
Well, there have been numerous inquiries into this matter, and there's been court matters which we've fully cooperated in, and some almost $750 million in reimbursements have been made by the government, and the changes to the scheme have been put in place. So the problem has been addressed.
Ukraine's economy minister says the country secured fuel supplies from European sources. Supplies in Ukraine have been hit hard by Russian attacks on depots and other facilities and blocking ports. President Volodymyr Zelensky says the government will soon end fuel shortages.
Окупанти цілеспрямовано знищують інфраструктуру для виробництва.
The occupiers are deliberately destroying the infrastructure for the production, supply and storage of fuel. But within a week, maximum 2, a system of fuel supply to Ukraine will be provided that will be able to prevent a deficit.
Russian news outlets say air defences prevented a Ukrainian aircraft from entering the Bryansk region of Russia's far west today. Citing the region's governor, they've added that as a result, shell fires hit parts of an oil terminal, damaging a building. At the same time, Russia's defence ministry is claiming widespread overnight attacks on Ukrainian military facilities, saying it hit dozens of them. Russia's foreign ministry says it expects commodity flows with China to grow and trade with Beijing to reach $280 billion by 2024. Moscow and Beijing swore closer ties before the start of the Ukraine invasion, and Russia's increasingly looking east in the face of growing Western isolation. Interfax reports the foreign ministry says while Chinese companies must be wary of the risk of secondary sanctions, Beijing's ready to expand cooperation with Moscow. Germany's filed a case against Italy in the UN's highest court because Rome continues to allow victims of Nazi war crimes to claim compensation from the German state, despite a ruling that such claims violate international law. Germany's application to the International Court says Italy continues to allow compensation claims to be brought in domestic jurisdictions despite the court's 2012 ruling. This violates Berlin's right to immunity under international law. Berlin says the ruling, there have been more than 25 new compensation claims filed in Italy against the German state for damages arising from the Nazi crimes during World War II. Opposition parties in Sri Lanka have rejected an approach from the country's leadership to form an all-party government to tackle a worsening economic crisis. They say it won't join any government in which the president and his brother, the prime minister, still wield power. There's continued and growing public anger over increasing prices of essential goods because of a shortage of foreign exchange. The city of Los Angeles has marked the 30th anniversary of race riots, which left more than 60 people dead. Violence broke out following the acquittal of 4 white police officers involved in the beating of a black man, Rodney King, after a traffic stop. The mayor of LA, Eric Garcetti, and local community leaders met at the intersection where the riots started, with Rodney King's daughter, Laura Dean King, addressing the gathering.
We're 30 years later, right? We have moved forward. But let's push so that we won't be a next hashtag. Let's push so that we can look how ignorant we are and compared to where we came from and look at this moment like, wow, I can't believe we were that ignorant to judge people based off of the color of their skin.
And there are growing concerns about misinformation appearing online following an unexplained hepatitis cases in children. As the BBC's Rachel Schreier reports, 170 toddlers in 11 countries have shown signs of liver damage in recent weeks.
Fear and uncertainty creates the perfect environment for rumours and bad information to take hold. As worried families search for news about rare but serious cases of childhood liver damage, it doesn't take long to stumble on posts wrongly claiming the COVID vaccine is to blame. In fact, health authorities say the vaccine is the one thing they can completely rule out, since none of the affected children had received the jab. The leading theory is that a rise in a common bug called an adenovirus is driving the hepatitis cases, possibly in combination with other factors.
ABC News.
Did you know that ABC Listen has a little sibling?
Hi.
The ABC Kids Listen app with music to move and podcasts to play. ABC Kids Listen stimulates curiosity, fires imaginations, and fosters good listening skills.
Wow! That's a funny noise.
Discover a world of entertainment that will spark creativity in the minds of your little ones and get them up and moving. Download ABC Kids Listen today, free from your app store.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Right, throws it back into play. Goldstein takes it out of the ruck and gives it off to Zerha, who bounces it towards home.
Stevenson comes screaming past and gets the football on a big arc. Drops a right foot kick inside the 50. Larky pulls it out of the night sky. Kicked a career-high 7 against the Blues last year. And he's got 2 this evening, and liking his work is Larky.
North Melbourne star duo up forward and piling it on in this second term. Zerha's got 2 this quarter. and all of a sudden scores a level at Docklands.
Kennedy, who's out between the wing and left half forward, rolls around onto the right boot, sends it inside the 50, looking for Mackay over the top. And he gets the steadier for the Blues, does Harry Mackay.
Taylor screws it around the corner towards the hot spot. It bounces in front of a pack of players. Clever tap by Stevenson to Davies Uniacke. Right foot snap towards the line is a goal. And Jones against Cripps doing the ruck duties for Carlton. Puts it down nicely. It spills to Walsh. Kick around the corner is bounced over the line for a goal. Brilliant.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
20 goals in the opening half here at Docklands. 15 in total between the Blues and the Roos. 8-point lead to Carlton at the main break. 8-5-53 to 7-3-45. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company throughout Victoria and Tasmania. Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson are your experts. In the other game tonight, St Kilda by 3 points over Port Adelaide. Port went to the half with 1 goal. They've already kicked 2 in the early stages of the third term. The winners earlier today, Fremantle by 3 points over to Geelong. GWS by 59 points over Adelaide. And shortly before we came on air here at Docklands, it was Melbourne by 10 points over Hawthorn. We didn't get the chance to bring you the song from the Demons' rooms after that game. So, D's fans, here it is, the victorious Melbourne song. So they're 7-0. They're the number 1 seed with a bullet, the Demons. 4 goals to Ben Brown. And Max Gawn with 29 disposals, 35 hit-outs, 6 marks and 2 goals. Just a reasonable day at the office for the All-Australian ruckman. Not a bad effort at all. In the NBL tonight, the Jack Jumpers taking on Melbourne United. It is half-time in Hobart, and it's the hosts 38-34. They're down 1-0 in that. In the playoff series, the other game last night saw the Sydney Kings beating Illawarra by 10. So the Jack Jumpers looking to level up their first round playoff series. Game 2 in the Kings-Hawks series tomorrow afternoon. In the NRL, the winners earlier today were New Zealand by a narrow one over Canberra. The Bulldogs squeaked past the Roosters. There's a game up in Darwin at the moment, and it's the Cowboys 15 leading the Eels 4. About set for a second half here at Docklands. Carlton by 8 points as we go into it. The Blues looking to bounce back onto the winners list and move to 5-2. North looking to get their second win of the season, and they're very much still in the ball game. Here's Jess Webster on Grandstand AFL.
So Goldstein a battle against De Koning in the ruck to kick off this second half here at Docklands. Goldstein rises high. De Koning with the little fist in. It goes to Greenwood, who's tackled by De Koning. Umpire says play on. Ball spills to Cripps, who gives it to Walsh from 50 metres out. Kick partially smothered inside 50. Ball ricochets back to Cripps, who just fends one off. Hand passes defensively to Fisher, who spots up Nunes, and he's got it 45 metres out from goal.
Well, it's not the first time, Kez, that we've seen the North Melbourne Footy Club and all their players just get attracted to the football, and that's what it was. And basically Nunes just held his whip, and everyone just followed the football, and he was just finding himself all alone. And just White, just this football smarts, just to compose himself and hit that target out there.
So Jack Nunes for the fast start to Carlton in the second half. That is a beautiful strike of the footy from 45. Jack Nunes gets his first goal in season 2022, and Carlton bring up their ninth. 9-5-59, North Melbourne 7-3-45. We played a minute into the third term.
Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Jono. I think Zach Fisher probably had every right to turn around, just try and hoik it across his body and get it to the hot spot, but instead he lowered his eyes, and Nunes did a terrific job running down the wing, making position for him. It's a great start for Carlton, because if they were being honest with themselves at half-time, this is a game that they should and basically they're the better team on the ground. They should win this game. So a real test for them here with their maturity. I'm liking the work of De Koning. His follow-up in the contest after the ruck tap has been really good. Big test for him going up against Goldie without Pitney here tonight for a backup role, but he's doing a great job so far.
All-Australian defender Karen Harrington from the Carlton AFLW team alongside another gun defender from the Brisbane Lions, the triple premiership star in Chris Johnson, your experts on grandstand AFL. De Koning did the ruck work and now has it in the centre circles as the Blues get the break to O'Brien. Awkward handball over the top to Newman. Drops it on the left boot, sends it to full forward. Oh, Harry came charging out, and out the back came Charlie. Mackay went steaming through the contest, left it all in his wake, and Curnow was there to pounce and kick another goal for the Blues, his third. And it's a lightning start to this third term for Carlton, out to a 20-point lead 2 minutes into the second half.
Yes, I reckon you're spot on in terms of having a serious conversation with one another at half-time, and probably driven by the coaches more than anything, and the players really getting on board. They've really responded really quickly here. But again, I guess the long driving ball inside the forward 50 to the two key forwards, I reckon that's the key home for him to actually kick a big score. He's trying to focus on those two, and you know, the other guys in White and Silvani, they'll pop up and kick their couple, but that was just superb crumbing at the back of the contest by Curnow.
So Curnow's now kicked 3 and Carlton have kicked 2 in 2 minutes to start the third term as Walsh wins the clearance out of the centre. It goes towards half forward. Off hands at the fall, the ball. Newman, beautiful pass inside 50. It's O'Brien, in fact. And it's the first gamer again, Carroll, who's marked 48 metres out from goal and is lining back to have a set shot. Kick the opening goal of the game, young Jack Carroll. In his first game in the navy blue, wearing the number 16 that his co-captain wore in his first season, but that kick skews off the side of the boot. It'll pitch just inside play in the forward pocket, off hands for a boundary throw in 20 metres around from Carlton's goal. Their lead is now 20 points, 4 minutes played third term.
The impressive Carroll. Ball will be tossed back in. Cripps in ruck against Goldstein here for the Blues. Might have had the better of the tap as well. Taron Thomas left it behind. Handball went looking for Turner. He fumbled it over the boundary line. And a throw in left forward pocket, Blues into attack.
It's been a couple of times tonight the North Melbourne players have probably just spent it before they've had it. You know, there was a couple in the first half, and now we've seen another one here.
This time Mackay against Goldstein. Goldstein definitely first hands to that. McDonald clean through the stoppage for the Roos. Loops the handball over the top to Simpkin, who drives it up the city side, looking for Coleman Jones in the contest with De Koning. Marnie knocked it to ground level for the Roos. And it's all Carlton at the back. Plowman to De Koning. Scrubs his kick up the line. It was out of bounds on the full as he was pushed over the boundary. And it'll be taken by Taylor for the Roos. Cuts the kick in board to McDonald, who's got it in line with the back edge of the square and chips it on over the top to Greenwood, who's pulled in the mark his first season in Roos colours for Hugh Greenwood.
Pressure applied by Cripps, who's Greenwood's been following most of the evening. Cripps up to 23 disposals. And Greenwood with the 7. Just kicks backwards to the defensive arc and finds Turner. He chips it on the 45 and finds Scott at centre half back. Off he runs from the centre square. It's a dangerous kick in the middle, but it pays off. Greenwood's marked. Handball off to Young, who can kick North Melbourne inside forward 50. Zeeble has a fly. Spills over the back. Newman on the last line of defence for Carlton, who handballs to O'Brien, who hand passes to Stocker. The releasing kick outside defensive 50 is a good one. Marking is always at full stretch, sliding in on the knees. He marks between wing and half-back for Carlton and wants to kick backwards inside defensive 50 to Newman.
Newman shoots it short to Carroll. The groan a couple of moments ago was because Todd Goldstein did a pretty good Lee Matthews impression inside forward 50 for the Roos, crashing into the right-hand goalpost, which is still wobbling down there. Carroll, through the centre of the ground. De Koning's run into Eleni Glufsis as he went to try and mark that, and North Melbourne have come up with the football. Blues fans not happy. Greenwood to Zeeble. Zeeble inside 50 to Marnie. Marnie on over the top to Larkey. So it was Cripps and De Koning who were rushing toward the ball, and blindsided were both De Koning and Eleni Glufsis, who both went to ground. And North have gone inside 50 as a result.
Well, I think the umpire there was coming back. He's running back, thinking the ball was going to come through the corridor, but the kick was pulled late. So, unlucky there. That's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes.
And when it falls your way, you've got to take the chance. Nick Larkey does just that. The Carlton fans are incensed, but the North fans will be very happy with that. Maybe that can just bring some inspiration to the Roos. Larkey's got 3, and he's 1 away now. 99 and 99 goals, 35 on his career too, if you don't mind. He is a straight shooter. 10-5-65 Carlton. North Melbourne 8-3-51. 7.5 gone. And as Jono said, Kez, sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
Sometimes it is, and unfortunately for Tom De Koning and whoever, I can't remember who pulled the kick late yet. It's not a position of the ground that you want to turn the ball over. Allows North Melbourne to rebound very, very quickly. I've had the pleasure of many conversations with Tom De Koning. He's a big, big man, and I would not have liked to have been backing into him blindsided just like that. So
Just watching on the replay again, the kick even wasn't for him. It went straight off the side of the boot, so it was a complete error on both parts there, player and umpire.
Play on.
So from the restart, Colin Jones kick partially smothered, but he wins it back and curls one around the corner inside 50 for North Melbourne. Fisted away from Davies Uniacke. Ball spills to ground and it comes Carlton's way. Sard chips it forward to Savani, who's marked at centre-half back. Flares it out wide to the first gamer in Carroll. He's marked on the wing. He's passed looking for Mackay. A good touch in there from Taylor. Spills over the boundary line, and we've got a throw in between wing and half forward. North Melbourne into attack. Carlton by 14 points. 9 minutes played, third term.
Probably not the right option there. Curtis Taylor did a great job cutting off the lead of Harry Mackay. Probably best for Carroll to go long on that one.
I think Carroll, after his last effort, was just trying to keep it away from an umpire at all costs. From the stoppage here, Cripps volleys it inside the forward 50. It's just pitched inside the line. Umpire says throw it in. Hayden Bonner thought it was floating out of bounds on the fall, and it's just bounced inside the chalk. So it'll be tossed in right forward pocket, 40 metres around from the Carlton goal. Blues by 14 points, 9 minutes gone, third term on Grandstand AFL. It's flung back into play. Coleman Jones reaches over the top of Silvani and knocks it down toward his defensive goal. Taylor's tackled by Martin. All locked up. Dangerous position here as far as the North Melbourne defence is concerned, having scored the last. Trying desperately not to concede the next. Cripps rips it out of the stoppage, kicks to full forward. Mackay can't drag it in. Bonner's there for North Melbourne, releases out toward the city side. Races on between Nunes and Stevenson. The former gets there first, steps it across the boundary, and it'll be tossed back in at left half forward for the Blues.
The lead is 14 points after leading by 17 at quarter time. Only 8 at half time. 2 of the first 3 in this third term. It's been a good game of footy all night. As the umpire spins the ball back into play. Doing well in the congestion is Carroll, who throws it on the boot inside 50. Free kick Carlton. Going the way of Jack Martin.
Disagree. I was watching that contest. I was watching Jack, what he was doing, and I'm a Jack fan. He made the contact well before the ball had actually left the boot of the Carlton player, and basically it was just a contest which he initiated. Then when he fell down, the umpires weren't even looking there.
So a lucky free kick to Jack Martin. He strikes it well from 40 metres out for his second of the night. And Carlton once again edge back out to a 20-point lead. 11.5.71, North Melbourne 8.3.51, 11 minutes played third term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
Yeah, I agree with you completely there, Jono. I would say that's probably even the ledger a little bit after an umpire perhaps gave or gifted North Melbourne a goal not too many minutes prior to that. Similar to the Larkey situation, though, if you get gifted one, you've got to make the most of it, and it's exactly what Jack Martin did, and it's one that he absolutely should have taken. Again, I'll just hark back to the Carlton defenders. I was watching again off the ball. Then Plowman and Lewis Young. Lewis Young being new to the Carlton backline, and Plowman has been in and out of the side over the last couple of years. Their communication 80 metres off the ball was fantastic there. They were swapping and working the correct positions and allowing Wiedering to be the spare dropping off behind the ball.
20-point game here. Margins as big as it's been throughout the course of the evening. Cripps forces it forward to Walshaw. Thomas ran down Patrick Cripps. Got him. Umpire said he didn't have a prior opportunity. Great tackle from the North midfielder. Back into the team last week after some internal bruising. In that win over West Coast, Kennedy rips it away from the stoppage here for the Blues. Chips it inside the 50. Owi's a good tackle on Boston of Alungi. Ball's not coming out. We'll have a throw in right on the arc. In Cairns, the Saints 3 goals 12. Lead Port Adelaide 4-5-29. 20 minutes gone in the third quarter there. So a low-scoring old affair up north. With the stoppage inside the defensive 50 for North Melbourne. Thomas spears it into the centre of the ground. Larkey couldn't take it with him. Wiedering infringed upon him in the marking contest. He hands it off to Stevenson for the Roos.
Whose kick is not a good one towards half forward. It pitches in front of Doherty, although closing late was Taylor. And Sard keeps it alive to Fisher, who tries to handball to his own advantage but runs out of room, and we've got a throw-in 50 metres around from North Melbourne's goal at left half forward.
That was a terrible option going forward there. I think Zeeble was the one who was out the back completely on his own and with the advantage. All he had to do was put it to the pocket and his teammate would have run onto it.
Ball back into play. Goldstein palms it down, then follows up his own work. His handball, though, straight to Durden of Carlton. His handball to Fisher. Spills to Chera. Then to Nunes. Back to Fisher from the centre of Docklands. Kicks to a 2-on-1 favouring North Melbourne. And out the back, Josh Walker takes the defensive mark.
So Walker across the defensive 50 to Scott. Bailey Scott's got it. Had career-high 26 touches against Carlton in the corresponding fixture last year. Goes to Bonner, former Giant, over the top to McDonald, who dropped a sitter. Let O'Brien in. Was good enough to at least lay the tackle and lock the football up again, but shouldn't have had to.
It's about the fourth time it's happened again for the Kangaroos, where they should have just marked the ball or taken possession, and it's just slipped straight through their hands. They're thinking about what they're going to do with the ball before they've got it.
20-point lead to the Blues. Here's Horn Francis bursting away from the stoppage, darts it up the line. Zeeble goes clattering into the Carlton physio tables. He might need a bit of treatment after that as he slides across the AstroTurf. He was in the right spot for it at least, maybe just not the right club. He rolls around onto the right boot, sends it inside the 50. Taylor read it nicely off the pack for the Roos. Dragged down by Newman. Umpire says the tackle was okay. It was very good, in fact, because he's pinged Taylor for holding the ball.
He got his head taken off Taylor. It should have been a free kick in the way of the Kangaroos for Curtis Taylor.
So Newman kicks to Fisher, who flares it out wide, looking for Owies. And good work by Turner, who won the footy. Hand passes back to Scott, who gives it to Boston of Alangi with a little fake. And then from right half forward, chips a kick into the pocket. Curtis has a fly, but couldn't get anywhere near it. And Sard takes the intercepting mark for Carlton. Hands it off to Newman, who just chips it into the right back pocket to Wiedering.
6 intercepts for Adam Sard. Good again. Wiedering short to Silvani. Carlton tried to bring it outside the defensive 50. 11-5 plays 8-3. Aggressive option from Silvani. Opens the ground up here for the Blues. He found Curnow in the centre corridor. Curnow to Fisher. Fisher flares it out wide. Nunes is marked right near the numbers of the 50. Spears it low inside to Chera, who ran all the way down the ground and ended up with it on his chest. 45 from Holmes.
Well, they set up well. The Blues out on the far wing on the city side. They just tracked that ball down along there, and that's when they switched to the cross. But Chera there, he had a couple of options forward, but I think Chera there just presented himself at the kicker and it got his attention. It was just a lovely kick, just a weighted kick. Didn't put too much on it, just a weighted kick so he could come in and run and take the ball nicely.
The 22-year-old midfielder, the prize recruit in the off-season, coming into navy blue. He likes that as soon as it left his boot. And he propels his side to a game-high 26-point lead. The Blues have finally maybe broken the back of this one. 12-5-77 to North Melbourne, 8-3-51. 16 and a half minutes played, third term. You're with Grandstand AFL.
They're worth their weight in goal-kicking midfielders, and Chera, as Joel said before, the absolute prize recruit of the Carlton off-season coming in, and he's just added so much depth to the midfield. The emergence of Kennedy as well has certainly helped that. But that entire passage of play was started because Adam Sard won the contest in the D50, and what Carlton did so well was be able to transition out of there really well and cleanly. They came to the broadcast side of the ground and then were able to dart back across, and just terrific eyes lowering from Nunes to hit up Chera there.
4 of the last 5 to Carlton, out to a game-high 26-point lead. What can North Melbourne produce? Goldstein just rips it out of the ruck and then kicks it long to full forward. Standing tall is Young for Carlton, who marks at the top of the square. Wants to kick out wide and does so. Kennedy's broken for him at left half back. He marks 10 metres in from the boundary. Wants to use the corridor. It's a good kick and finds Stocker at the point of the square. Handballs off to Plowman. He handballs out wide to Nunes. Chips it over the top to Carroll, who's got a bit of space at left half forward for the Blues. And kicks nicely inside forward 50 and finds Jack Martin 45 from home.
Well, again, the Blues there is pretty much a repeat of what their last shot on goal was. They just fanned out. They just fanned out everywhere, and they actually spread North Melbourne. North Melbourne weren't really going on a hard man-to-man. They were going more on a zone, and they just got it up through handball and just chip it around, and they've done well here.
5 marks and 2 goals, 1 for Jack Martin so far this evening. He trots in and lets it fly from 48, but it's missed to the near side for a minor score. Make it 2-2, his return for this evening. Carlton 12-6-78, North Melbourne 8-3-51, 18 and a half played, third term.
The Roos bring it back into play. Turner kicks towards Stevenson, and Martin was right there, Johnny, on the spot to apply the pressure and force the footy out. That's what you'd love to see if you're a Blues fan. And they win a stoppage inside the forward 50 to try and lock this in and extend the lead past 27 as it sits at the moment. Mackay and Goldstein set themselves. Mackay works his way to the front, knocks it down toward the boundary line. Simpkins there for the Roos. He's pretty keen to step it across. And it'll be thrown back in. Still inside forward 50 for the Blues. Up in Cairns, nearing three-quarter time. The Saints by 2 points. 3-13 to 4-5 in a real slugfest in the up in Cairns.
Umpire spins the ball back into play. Davies Uniacke can't go with it. McDonald in there for the Roos. Gives it to Stevenson. Handballs out wide to Simpkin, who goes over the boundary line. We've got another throw in. 35 around from Carlton's goal.
In the NBL tonight, the Jack Jumpers up by 5 halfway through the third term, so our Tassie listeners will be pretty happy about that. 47-42 over Melbourne United in Game 2 of the NBL playoff series.
So Carlton lead it by 27. Is Mackay has a flipping shot at goal and hits the post. Another minor score. So 12-7-79, North Melbourne 8-3-51 as we tick into time 1 of the third.
Scott's got it inside defensive 50 for the Roos from the kick-in. Chips short to Walker. Coming into tonight, according to Champion Data, he had lost one one-on-one contest for the season. Had Josh Walker. They've had a pretty tough night of it tonight, the Roos defenders, against Curnow, Mackay and co. Flynn Perez cuts it inboard to Boston-Avalangi, the activated sub. Unfortunately, Miller Bergman, that on debut for North, subbed out with a right shoulder injury, having only had 1 disposal. The other debutant tonight in Carroll's had a very big impact for Carlton. North working up the city side here. Zerha's got some separation at half forward. He's got it just inside the 50. Kicks to full forward and Plowman spikes it through. In fact, he didn't. He spiked into the left-hand behind post. So where most players on the ground and most people in the crowd thought it was, maybe one or two in the commentary box, thought it was a rush behind. It'll be a boundary throw in deep forward for North.
Had to get the wide out for that one, unfortunately. So throw in North Melbourne's attacking 50. Spills to Plowman. His handball looking for Doherty is chopped off by Horn Francis. Now Marnie at the bottom of the pack. He's tackled by Young, and we've got a ball up 40 metres out from North Melbourne's goal, directly in front. They trail by 28. They desperately need a goal. Doherty can't go with it. Zerha picks it up. He gives it to Davies Uniacke, who gets around Carroll. Then hand passes to Zebo, who goes backwards to Thomas and tackled by Durden. Ball up 50 metres out from North's goal.
Just need to pull the trigger. They're just looking for the ideal shot. Sometimes you've just got to create something out of nothing.
Something will be better than nothing. Goldstein at the stoppage. This time Davies Uniacke bursts his way through, gets around a couple, darts it toward goal, misses. It's just the finishing touches that Luke Davies Uniacke needs to round his game out. He misses there. Margin 27, 22 minutes gone, third term.
Newman brings it back into Owies. In fact, it's Plowman who drives it down the line. Kennedy fists it away from McDonald and then wins the footy. Handballs to O'Brien, who handballs inboard to Owies, crunched by Zerha. North Melbourne win it. McDonald to Goldstein to Thomas, who got smashed in the hip and shoulder by Stocker. Players dive on, ball up 55 metres out from North's goal. That was a heavy hit.
Yeah, I reckon just looking at the replay, a bit of clash of heads. Not so much of a head-high tackle, but just a clash of heads.
Goldstein reaches across, wins it down. Horn Francis quickly onto it. Zerha through the traffic. Almost got his pants pulled down. Literally, he got dragged down by the Dax and got caught holding the ball.
What colour underpants, John?
Bright red, Jono. Bright red for Cam Zerha.
Are they going to be your choice next week?
I don't think I'll go the bright red. I might try and match it with the suit, potentially. Hopefully I don't have the problem where anyone's seeing them on that particular occasion. Durden kicks up the line. Oh, big contest there. Boston of Alungi dived on the football. Sherrer's over the top of him. Roos will get a free kick and maybe an injury worry for the Blues, Jess.
Yeah, Stocker's come to the bench, straight into the rooms, just nursing his shoulder, one he used to hit Thomas, who now has footy in hand on the logo. Dock side of the ground, Thomas kicks towards half forward, looking for Horn Francis. Durden came across and Horn Francis has given away the free kick. So Durden kicks backwards inside defensive 50 to Newman. He's in a paddock of space. Chips forward till Silvani. The kick had a little bit too much on it, but Silvani had time to gather. Hand passes off to Doherty. As there's a bit going on behind play. Doherty to half forward to Carroll, who sends it to Mackay. Mackay marks just outside the goal square, 5 metres out, slight angle to the left. Another great kick by Jack Carroll, his second goal assist of the night, as Mackay kicks his third. Carlton out to a 33-point lead, 13-7-85. North Melbourne 8-4-52, 25 played third term. Your experts on Grandstand AFL, Karen Harrington and Chris Johnson.
John, I missed that play completely because I had my eyes at the back of the... down here on the wing, rather, when the ball was 110 metres forward.
Yeah.
Silvani had a lot to say just there to... I think it was young Horn Francis. Horn Francis is a bit game taking on Patrick Cripps and Silvani in one hit. I'm not quite sure what happened.
Yeah, he ran straight up to Silvani and tried to pull him to the ground, and then there was a lot of lip going back and forth. But I think what it came back to was the whole ability that Silvani was able to clean up a skill error, and then he gove the handball and just gave Horn Francis a little bit after it, and then Horn Francis went after chasing him. So, but good work by the Blue Boys. They were able to go all the way from half back uncontested.
A little bit of a spunk, the number one pick, Horn Francis, taking a few reasonably big names in the game on. Coleman Jones skied it out of the centre clearance, marked by Doherty, quickly off to Kennedy, lightning inside 50 to Curnow. He left it behind. Did he mean it? You'll never know.
You know what they call that?
It was an absolute slips catch out the back for Owies. Curnow just let it go straight past, ran the big fake, and Matt Owies got his second on an absolute platter inside forward 50 for the Blues. And they've really blown the Roos away here, out to a 39-point lead. 14-7-91 to North 8-4-52. 26 and a half gone, third term.
I've seen a lot of things in our game over the years and tried to replicate other sports, but that's what you call a through ball. That was a through ball straight through, and he knew what was going on, and that was just the ability for Owens there, was able just to measure it. Kicked it along the ground, grubbed it along the ground. Would have liked to have seen the drop punt going post high, but smart work there by the Blues again.
Looks like Cottrell will come into the game for Carlton. He's taken the warm-up top off and sitting on the bench. It's Carlton again winning out of the centre. Kennedy pumps it long into attack. It's off hands. Spills to Carroll. Can he get his second? He skied that one out of bounds on the full. Free kick to North Melbourne in the right back pocket, going the way of Turner.
Got to be disappointed for Liam Stocker. Kez coming back from an ankle in the pre-season and subbed out of the game.
Yeah, he just cut me off there, Joel. I was about to say the same thing. It is really disappointing. He's put a lot of work in, and the ability for him to come back from that syndesmosis injury, as well as what he has, is a bit disappointing that he's been subbed out, so hopefully not too bad.
Long kick up toward Marnie for the Roos, to Zerha, who forces it forward to Zeeble. Zeeble's got it at right half forward. Awkward kick inside the 50. It was an awful kick inside the 50, to be fair. Just put it on the head of Larkey, and Wiedering was going to chop that off every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And he whacks it down the outer side wing toward De Koning. Used the body, got two hands to it. Used the body illegally, according to the umpire. And it'll be a free kick going the way of the Roos. Between the wing and half forward, City side, Carlton by 39 points. They have blown this one open in the third term.
Coleman Jones has kicked inside 50, but the umpire's found a free kick, and it's on again in the pocket.
Well, Larkey, the ball, the whistle been blown, and Larkey tunnelled young Lewis Young.
And so it's a 50-metre penalty to Carlton as Wiedering runs into the centre of the ground. It's still on beyond play, and Wiedering's kicked out wide to O'Brien. But the umpire's given away. It's another 50-metre penalty to Carlton.
Carlton don't even realise this. They're still trying to kick the ball and chip it around. They don't realise that they're going all the way inside forward 50.
So Jacob Wiedering.
Larky's jumper as well, Jess, has been ripped completely off him.
He looks like Tarzan, Jono.
So a bit of mayhem here at Docklands. Two 50-metre penalties against North Melbourne has given Wiedering a chance for a shot on goal. He's been marched to within 45 metres of Carlton's goal. No real angle to speak of. He's only kicked 10 goals in his career. Jacob Wiedering.
Is he in a bit of trouble for that, Jono?
It was quite dangerous, wasn't it?
It was quite dangerous, absolutely.
Really dangerous. And he hit the ground hard, Young.
So the star defender for Carlton hasn't kicked a goal since 2018. And doesn't his teammates love it? Scenes here at Docklands as Jacob Wiedering kicks his first goal in 4 years to extend Carlton's margin to 45 points. 15-7-97, North Melbourne 8-4-52. Half an hour played in this third term.
Kez, I reckon you're right. Just watch the replay again. I think he will maybe get a fine or potentially 1 week, because that was very, very dangerous.
Well, we've seen the match review panel come down quite hard on that this year, about acts that are, even with the potential to cause injury. And I mean, quite clearly the whistle had well and truly gone. And you could see Larkey had an intent to push Lewis Young under the ball then as it was coming in. And I mean, thankfully Lewis Young was able to get up and he's going to continue the game, but quite a dangerous act.
It's getting pretty chippy, this one, isn't it?
Yes.
On a Saturday night.
And Jess, you were very excited about a backman kicking a goal, a defender kicking a goal. Well, you're looking at two defenders up here. We love goals when we get down there.
Just gives you all the feels. All the feels, I think. I love it.
Every player ran to him and the crowd went absolutely berserk. Thomas kicks it out of the middle, out toward half forward. It'll be thrown back in. So Carlton in this term have kicked 7 goals 2. Their previous best third quarter coming into tonight was 2 goals 3. So fair to say they're going to get their first third quarter win for the season. Worst in the competition in third quarters coming into tonight. Hadn't won one. They're going to blow North Melbourne away and basically win the game in the third quarter tonight. From the stoppage at half forward, the ruse through Thomas. Little bit of fleet of foot, darts it inside 50. That's a lovely kick. Beautiful vision. He is such a classy operator, Taran Thomas. He probably needs a few to go with him. And he's got Curtis on the end of this 30 out.
That was impressive. Very, very impressive. He didn't have a lot of time. He thought his way through it. He knew that he had players inside that he could have spot up, and he just walked through the process of it all, and it was just an elimination, and he chose the right option.
So Paul Curtis getting the boos from the supporters of Carlton, of which he was once one, growing up as a junior, and here he is slotting his second goal in a young career that offers plenty of promise, and he drags one back for North Melbourne nearing three-quarter time, and the margin back to 39 points. 15-7, Carlton. North Melbourne 9-4, 58, 32 and a half minutes played in the third quarter. Your experts on Grandstand AFL are Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington.
Yes, they've been pretty good, North Melbourne, and I think the three-quarter time address by their coach in David Noble is going to be quite harsh, I think, because it's just a few senior players at the moment have sort of let that down, and we talk about the likes of Larkey with a 50-metre penalty. He's going to have a hard talking to him.
And they deserve it, to be honest, Jono. They really do. They've let Carlton completely dominate this quarter and get on top in all areas.
So from the restart, De Koning palms it down straight to Coleman Jones, his opposite ruck. He gives it to Thomas, just squeaks a kick into the path of Taylor, has a fumble, then regathers, gives it to Simpkin, who hand passes to Scott, who gives it to Boston of Alangi, who's run down, holding the ball. Great tackle by Silvani, who's off and running. Long kick into the pocket, looking for Curnow. Rises high in the contest and pulls in another mark. On the stroke of three-quarter time here at Docklands, Charlie Curnow can put an exclamation mark on a blistering third quarter for the Carlton Blues. He's kicked 3 and misses. It was a bit of a letdown in the end. So three-quarter time here at Docklands. It's Carlton well in control now. 15-8, 98. North Melbourne 9-4, 58. The margin is 40 points. Your goal kickers for Carlton, 3 each to Mackay and Curnow, 2 each to Owies and Martin, and singles for Chera, Carroll, Walsh and Nunes. And for North Melbourne, it's 3 to Larkey, 2 to Zerha, and singles to Marnie, Davies, Uniac and Curtis.
Well, they ended their third quarter curse, the Blues. Their first win in a third quarter for the season, and it was a decisive win as well, outscoring North Melbourne by 32 points, kicking 7 goals 3 to North's 2 goals 1. And at three-quarter time, they turned for home with a 40-point lead. In the other game tonight, it's 23 degrees up in Cairns, partly cloudy, so no rain. 87% humidity, though, Jono. And St Kilda's kicked 4 goals 14 to Port Adelaide's 4 goals 6. So that's 7 minutes into the last term, and Carlton have kicked more in that quarter than either of those sides so far in the game.
I'm glad you mentioned the humidity, because when it is that high in humidity, it is like wet weather football. Your hands are so sweaty, the ball's sweaty, the grass is so dewy as well. So by the looks of it, looks like they're all having troubles up there, even just getting their hands on the ball.
Having trouble adapting, perhaps. Both subs out of the game here, both with shoulder injuries in Miller Bergman and Liam Stocker for North and Carlton respectively. But it was all the Blues in that third term, and they hold a commanding 40-point lead as we turn for home. The final term on the other side of this on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
ABC, your trusted source of accurate and timely emergency information.
We've had the ABC on basically all afternoon listening.
There's so much going on. Getting news is a priority.
Well, I'm a fan of the ABC.
It must be love, love, love.
I listen to the ABC every day. I'm extremely grateful.
ABC Radio, reliable source for information.
On radio, on the ABC Listen app and the ABC Emergency website.
It must be love, love, love.
ABC, stay connected.
The 2022 AFL Premiership season.
Grandstand AFL. On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
Jack Nunes, the fast start to Carlton in the second half. That is a beautiful strike of the footy from 45.
Newman drops it on the left boot, sends it to full forward. Oh, Harry came charging out, and out the back came Charlie. Carroll, through the centre of the ground. De Koning's run into Eleni Glutzis as he went to try and mark that, and North Melbourne have come up with the football. Blues fans not happy. Greenwood to Zeeble. Zeeble inside 50 to Marnie. Marnie on over the top to Larkey. When it falls your way, you've got to take the chance. Nick Larkey does just that.
Lucky free kick to Jack Martin. He strikes it well from 40 metres out for his second of the night.
Nunes is marked right near the numbers of the 50. Spears it low inside to Chera. Prize recruit in the off-season coming into navy blue. He likes that as soon as it left his boot. And he propels his side to a game-high 26-point lead. The Blues have finally maybe broken the back of this one.
So the star defender for Carlton hasn't kicked a goal since 2018. And doesn't his teammates love it? Scenes here at Docklands as Jacob Wiedering kicks his first goal in 4 years.
This is the 2022 AFL Premiership season.
On ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
That was a highlight. Jacob Wiedering with a first goal in 4 years. 2018 it was his last goal. Came in round 2 against the Gold Coast in a losing effort. 11 goals in his career. He's made his name for himself as a star defender. But tell you what, that was a moment that his teammates and his supporters certainly enjoyed. Carlton by 40 points at three-quarter time. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Chris Johnson, the Brisbane Lions Premiership defender, and Karen Harrington, three-time All-Australian defender with Carlton's AFLW team are your experts. Up in Cairns, it's St Kilda 4-14-38 to the, Port Adelaide 5-7-37 in the Battle of the Behinds. That one's being called tonight. It's the Saints by a point, 10.5 minutes gone in the last term there. In the NBL this evening, the Jack Jumpers are taking on Melbourne United in the second game of their playoff series. And it's a pretty tight one with 6 minutes to go in the final period. It's the Jack Jumpers 67 to United 64. It's been pretty close throughout. Earlier in the day in the NRL, New Zealand, the Warriors beating Canberra 21-20. The Bulldogs squeaked past the Roosters. And in Darwin tonight, the Cowboys thrashed the Eels 35-4. Our winners in the AFL earlier today, Freo by 3 over the Cats, GWS by 59 over Adelaide, and Melbourne by 10 over Hawthorn. 0437 774 774 to get in touch with us. We've got about 20 minutes of post-game as well. We'll be with you till 10:30 tonight on Grandstand AFL. You can fire a question to Jono and Kez, a couple of them coming through. Our experts, Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington. That was a bit of a clinic from Carlton in that third term.
Well, we spoke about the I guess the halftime huddle that they would have gone in. They would have had a chat, Kez, to each other, and the coaches would have had a chat, and they responded. And that's what you need from a team like this that's given so much hype, I think, in the first 5 to 6 weeks in this competition. They've played some great football, and this is probably what the score should really look like when we're coming into this game. They've done a good job, Carlton. They've got to go on with it.
You're absolutely right, John. I think the telling stat for me is 71% efficiency for Carlton inside forward 50, 42 for North.
That is a big differential. Carlton hadn't rated highly in that stat coming into tonight. They'll get the opening clearance here through Chera and Cripps. Tumbles it inside the forward 50. Tracked down by Durden. Gives the handball off to Curnow. Hooks it too far with the snap, as they did in the first and the third. Carlton with the opening clearance and a score straight away. And that one is a minor one. It takes the margin to 41 points. Half a minute into this final term.
3 goals, 3 for Charlie Curnow this evening. Missed one on the stroke of three-quarter time. As Perez brings the ball back in for North Melbourne. Long kick to the wing. It spills over the back. It's all Carlton though. Sard. Clever little tap to the advantage of Fisher, who's close up against the boundary line near the interchange. Gates pulls the kick beautifully and finds Cripps just forward of the wing. Handballs off to Walsh, who runs alongside him unopposed and delivers a brilliant pass into the pocket to the lead of Curnow. It's too easy, that was. Cripps to Walsh to Curnow.
Makes any Carlton fan very happy to hear that passage of play. Thanks, Jess.
You're welcome. So Curnow for goal number 4. 45-degree angle, 45 metres out, and that's a horrible kick. Really deserved a goal to cap off that piece of play. 3 goals, 4 for Charlie Curnow this evening.
He's let himself down tonight, I reckon. The goal that the shot of goal that he had half a minute ago, he had way more time than what he thought he did, and he's missed a fairly routine goal for him there as well.
Scott drives it in from fullback for the Roos. It's coming back through Doherty, though, inside the forward 50. Nice bit of roving from Silvani. Flicks it out the back. Durden ran past it. Owies is there for goal number 3. It goes straight up and down into the goal square. The Carlton fans rose to their feet. Scott goes in. Boston of Alungi tries to thrash it outside the defensive 50 for North Melbourne. Chasing after it is Zurha, who just forces it forward with a bit of brute strength and effort. Gets it all the way up to the wing and then runs into the hip of Lewis Young and is in all kinds of bother. Greenwood goes in after Young. I'm not sure there was a lot that Lewis Young could have done about that.
Yeah, Joel, I reckon there was.
Free kick to Larkey.
So there was.
Young elected to bump, you think, John?
Yeah, I think he elected to bump straight away. He was thinking that Zurha was going to pick up the ball, and he's just basically gave him a big hit in the shoulder. Probably high on the shoulder, not the head. It wasn't the head, it was more the shoulder.
So Zurha's come straight to the bench as well. He's in all sorts of pain as North Melbourne send it inside 50, but Carlton repel. Carroll swings it out wide to Cottrell, the medical sub. He chips inboard to Chera and goes out wide to Walsh, who's marked at right half back for the Blues. Again chips it forward, looking for Silvani. Thomas comes across and affects the spoil. Young picks it up, kicks inside 50 for North Melbourne, but it's off hands and out of bounds for a throw-in 30 metres around from goal. It's Carlton by 42, 3 minutes played final term.
You wouldn't say that Lewis Young hasn't been involved tonight, because Larkey tunnelled him earlier, which might get looked at, and then his bump on Zurha might get looked at, as well as having a fair bit of the footy tonight. He's been a bit in everything, Lewis Young, for the Blues. Goldstein took it out of the ruck. He's mown down by De Koning. Carlton fans want 50. They won't get it. Big Tom De Koning will take it in the ruck. How have you seen his game solo, or sort of primary ruck tonight, Kez?
Yeah, I think he's been good. I'd be a bit too slow to get there. Oh, no, I've got the hit-ups up here. They've lost their hit-outs, Carlton, 47-25. So it probably hasn't been an area that they've dominated in, or, you know, even got the ascendancy in. But I think he's been really good around the ground. And as you see, he's doing the little things like tackling Goldstein.
Kicks long to Mackay, who swings it across the centre square now to Nunes. He wants to move it on for the Blues. Plowman by hand, back to Newman. Darts his left foot kick out wide to Fisher, who's just in front of the wing. Loops the handball on over the top now to Doherty. Doherty jams it on the left boot inside the 50. A 3-on-1. He gave Owies no chance. Bonner dropped the mark, and then it was socket on by Durden. It spills out in the left forward pocket for a throw-in for Carlton. The margin, 42 points. Carlton with a blistering third term to break it open. We're 4 minutes into the last.
So it's a shallow throw-in by the umpire. Goldstein reaches over the top, palms it down to McDonald, who's under pressure with the kick, just hacks it outside defensive 50. Sard read it best and floats across and takes the mark. 5 metres in from the boundary between wing and half forward, and can pump Carlton back into attack. It's a very crowded forward 50. So he just kicks it to a dangerous position, and Cripps presents. Marks unopposed in the end. 30 metres out, no real angle to speak of.
You're right, Jess. He was unopposed all the way through there. He was in the pocket, unmanned, thinking that the ball was going to go long to the goal square, and he was able just to float across. Poor defending by the Kangaroos.
So we're setting up to kick this one around the corner. How do we feel about it? Not a big angle to speak of, but he executes brilliantly. Just Patrick Cripps to bring up his first goal of the evening. Carlton now 16-10, 106 to North Melbourne, 9-4-58. The margin's now 48.6 minutes played, final term.
It's been the big addition to Cripps' game this year, hasn't it, Jono? The ability for him to push forward and impact the scoreboard. It's clear as day to see the impact that he has around the ground at clearances, around at stoppages with his clearance work, and the ability for him to push forward it really elevates him into that next bracket of the game's absolute elite. And I still can't quite get my head around why, on a very, very slight angle, 35 out from goal, that he kicks around his body, but when he kicks it, I can't complain too much. He's been great tonight. He's had 29 disposals and push forward to kick a goal, and he might not be done yet.
11 goals, 2 on the season. Patrick Cripps, 3 last week for the Blues against the Dockers. Led the way, got all 10 coaches' votes as well in a losing effort. The Roos force it forward out of the stoppage. Kicking in danger is going to be paid against Paul Curtis.
I haven't seen one of those in ages.
No, that is a rare one. Gets archived a little bit these days. De Koning across half back for the Blues. Shoots it out wide to Young. And now to Nunes in the battle of the behinds up in Cairns. Port Adelaide have kicked 3 consecutive behinds, you would have guessed it, and they've taken the lead against St Kilda for the first time tonight. 5-10 plays 4-14 up at Kazali Stadium. And that is nearing completion in that game. So the Power have dragged themselves in front here at Docklands. The Blues through Chera on the city side, slowing things down. Doesn't see a lot that he likes in front. Up by 48 points here, Carlton. So he slaps one inside the forward 50, and from 6 back, Harry Mackay makes his way through the pack and pulls in the mark. 35 out, slight angle right of centre.
There is no way that was how it was designed. Absolutely not. But when you put yourself in the right spot, sometimes things just happen for you, Jono, and that's exactly what's happened for H here. And you guessed it, he's going to kick around the body.
So 3 goals 4 for Curnow and 3 goals 2 for Mackay. It's been a nice night for the Carlton key forwards, and the good times keep on rolling. 17-10, 112 the Blues. The Kangas 9-4-58. 8 minutes gone here in this final term, and Carlton are really blowing North away.
It's a bit of a struggle. For the defenders at the moment. There's a bit of a lack of communication. There's a few blocks, and I guess the way Cripps got the ball earlier was from a block, and then this time now Bonner just lost check and thought that there was a handover at some stage and relied on one of his other teammates that was going to come and get involved in that contest. But the old saying is, as a defender, if your man flies, you've got to fly as well, and if your man presents at the football, you've got to present with him at the same time. So just there for Bonnie. He's had a tough night. He's up against some tough opposition down there.
So 9 goals to 2 to Carlton since half-time, when the margin was just 8, and they win it out of the centre again. Kick tumbles inside forward 50. Fisher's run down by Scott, holding the ball. Great defensive work from Bailey Scott. Takes the free kick inside the defensive arc and flares it out wide to Bonner. Not 15, has to play on, has time and space to kick out wide to Marnie, but coming across with the spoil is Sard and knocks it over the boundary line for a throw-in.
Comes from nowhere, doesn't he? You have no idea where he is. The ball looks like it's going to be very easily marked, and all of a sudden he just gets a fist in at exactly the right moment.
And it's uncanny because they're not long strides. They're these little quick strides that sort of it doesn't add up that you can do those little quick strides and be so quick.
A speed shuffle of Adam Sard.
That's a good call.
Nick Larkey slides, in fact Coleman Jones slides in, kicks up toward half forward after he marked on the AFL logo, put it straight over the head of Larkey, and Wiedering gobbled that up. He goes short by foot to Lewis Young, who looks for an option, sees one inside the defensive 50. Plowman had to wait for it. Curtis was closing in. Did enough to take the mark, did Lockie Plowman. Kicks across the defensive 50 to Nunes. Former Saint takes off with a bounce and a second. And now he lays into it and kicks it up the city side. Mackay, towering mark out on the wing. He's been doing it all night, Harry. He's taken another one. He'll launch another attack for the Blues.
Kick short this time, looking for Kennedy. Fisted away by him at ground level. Chera, he's coughed it up. Greenwood emerges with it. He's turned it over to Saad. Switches play to Plowman inside the centre square. Called to play on. Just gets around Curtis nicely with the fake and then pumps it long into the forward 50 where Cripps has taken another mark. North Melbourne players with their hands on the knees around the ground. Nunes is down for Carlton inside the centre circle. And Cripps can have a shot on goal for his second goal in this final quarter from 40 metres out, 45-degree angle to the left.
And he's going for the rare drop punt.
So he's kicked one goal from kicking it around the corner, missed a set shot from a drop punt. What does he do here? Patrick Cripps. Oh, well, he nails it. No, he doesn't. Spoke too soon, looked pretty good off the boot, and faded late and slams into the woodwork for a minor score. Carlton 7-11, 113. North Melbourne 9-4-58, 11 and a half gone, final term.
You had a few mates in the going early camp there, Jess. A few of the Carlton supporters were with you. Coleman Jones marks the long kick in. Short to McDonald, made Zeeble work for it again. Saad, the speed shuffle, he got across to slap it away and then pushes Zeeble over the boundary line in front of the interchange gates. It'll be tossed back in. Flynn Perez comes off for a spell. Kane Turner replaces him. Boundary umpire to spin it back in from right in front of the interchange gates. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster with you on Grandstand AFL. Chris Johnson, Karen Harrington, your experts. 55-point lead to Carlton, 12 gone. Here in this final turn, Horde Francis tries to ride the bump and shook Carroll. Kick to half forward, Wiedering back with the flight, couldn't pull it in. Newman was clean through the traffic. He cuts the kick short to Walsh, and Walsh will look to switch across the defensive 50 for the Blues.
Finds Nunes at centre half back, who delivers out wide to Martin. Good fist in there by Young. At Martin read it nicely. Gives it to Doherty. Handball over his head to Cottrell. Handballs inboard to Martin. Handballs backwards. This time he's coughed it up. Oh, a good tackle laid by Nunes, and we've got a ball up 70 metres out from Carlton's goal at right half forward. So Carlton by 55. 13 minutes played in the final term. It's been some second half from the Blues. Carroll, the first game up, spins out of traffic. Hand passes backwards to Doherty, who loads up and looks for Mackay through his fingers. Out the back, Boston Valangi. He's tackled to the ground. And the umpire says, I'll have it. Ball up close to the boundary line, 35 metres out from the Blues goal.
In the battle of the behinds, it's Port Adelaide by a point. They've both kicked another two, Jono.
That was better by Bonner. He was with Mackay. He was there. He was able to compete. He was able to actually put a bit of pressure on him. So that was better by Bonner. He's got to. I know it's tough going. He's there's probably over 10 minutes to go, but he just needs to keep fighting through this. He's the only defender at the moment that's sort of going to go with Mackay. We've got Walker back onto Curnow as well, so he just needs to dig deep here.
It's always going to be tough for them without Ben Mackay, and then of course they lost Core as a late out North Melbourne, so they were going to have to scrap together something in terms of their key defensive posts, and the two big Carlton forwards have enjoyed a bit of a night out. Mackay's on the roving duties here. Scott had it. Oh, O'Brien's missed his hand there with the handball for the Blues. Walsh has got it. He's taken by Zerha holding the ball.
He was playing the violin job.
Of a musical air stuff from Lockie O'Brien. He does a couple of things every game that make you think, oh, wow. And then he does a couple of things every game that make you think, oh, wow.
So Zerha flares it out wide. It's a dangerous kick as Martin closes in on Walker, but he wins himself a free kick. So Walker at right half back for North Melbourne.
Another behind us in Kilda. They've kicked 1-11 in the second half. Scores tied at 41 apiece with 3 minutes left in Cairns.
We had a draw this year yet?
Not yet, I don't think.
So Walker down the line. Doherty wins the footy for North Melbourne, gives it to Plowman, who's under pressure from Marnie, just gets the handball away to Chera. His handball misses Kennedy, allows Horn Francis to come in. He wanted one high, he's still on the ground. Umpire says nothing doing. Carlton, exit defence. Long kick to the wing. O'Brien can't go with it. Simpkin. Umpire's found a free kick going the way of O'Brien for Carlton. True centre wing position, dockside.
No draws yet, Jono. 3 one-point games. In the NBL, the Jack Jumpers are holding on over United as well. 75-70 with about 45 seconds left in Game 2 of that playoff series. So it's all coming down to the wire. Now the Saints are in front. They kicked 1 goal, 12 in the second half, and they're up by a point. Fisher goes inside 50. Mackay tries to drag it in with the one hand. Boston-Avalangi goes through. He can't take it. And Silvani sees it out for a throw-in. So just on this St Kilda Port Adelaide game, at half-time it was the Saints 3-6 to Port 1-4. It's now St Kilda 4 goals 18. They've taken a commanding 1-point lead. And Port Adelaide a 5-11-41. So that is pretty tough going up there in Cairns in the dewy conditions. Ball thrown back in. It'll be locked up again. Carlton by 55 here at Docklands halfway through the final term.
So stoppage inside forward 50. Mackay takes it out of the ruck, sends it to full forward, standing underneath it. Bonner marks in the last line of defence for North Melbourne.
Just seen the replay of Jason Horne-Francis where he was down in play. Bit of friendly fire.
So Bonner exits defensive 50 with a long kick, but it's fisted over the boundary line for a throw-in. Between wing and half forward at left, half forward for Carlton. They lead it by 55 points, 16 and a half played final term.
You won't guess what's happened in the Battle of the Behinds, Jess.
Another behind and a draw.
Another behind, scores level again. Minute 15 to go. 4-18 plays 5-12.
I know what's happened. That Oz kick guy.
He's up there. He was in charge of placing the post, Jono. Exactly. There is a 19-metre goal and point post and 1 metre between the big sticks. Doherty goes inside the 50 here for the Blues from left half forward. It has been a Carlton clinic here in this second half. Simpkin throws a boot at it. Might have held Cripps without the football. No free kick. Fisher's clean through the traffic. Doherty, beautiful little chip kick into the path of Kennedy in the pocket. And Matt Kennedy marks it in the left forward pocket, 20 metres out. And he is looking to kick Carlton's 18th of the game.
It was so clever by Doherty just there. Poked it on his left foot to the advantage of Kennedy running back to goal, and very, very cute by Doherty.
So Kennedy's got it in the left forward pocket to become the 11th Carlton goal kicker of the evening. A bit too much hook on that.
Thoughts on a drop punt there, Jono?
Yeah. It's a perfect side for a drop punt if you're a right footer.
You'll never guess. Another one, a behind to Port Adelaide, and they're ahead by a point in the late stages.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
I wonder if they're set shots or they're running shots or... Oh, jeez.
Heavy ball.
Heavy ball.
So Perez brings the ball back in for North Melbourne, kicks to the wing where Larkey marks and chips short to Davies-Uniacke.
No, I was just going to say, Jess, well, there can't be heavy balls anymore in this day and age because there's so many balls that get changed over once a point's been kicked.
Well, I think we've got all a replay to watch when we get home. Davies-Uniacke has turned it over to Silvani, who...
You'll be watching that, will you, Jess?
backwards to Wiedering.
No, you just watch the mini. What are those little mini things? You just watch them.
Yeah, KO Mini.
Normally they cut out the goals. What are they going to do? We'll go for about 30 seconds.
So Wiedering is kicked down the line. It's a free kick to O'Brien for Carlton. There's a couple of kicks from goal. Wants to use the corridor. Laces a kick to Martin.
So a final score. Port Adelaide have won by a point. That game ended with 11 consecutive behinds scored.
That's a good talking point too, by the way, for St Kilda at the same time. They should have won that
game. So Carlton have worked the footy to the other side of the ground. Kick inside 50 by Doherty, and guess who's on the end of it? Patrick Cripps. He's having a fairly good quarter inside 50. The Carlton skipper has kicked 1 goal, missed a couple. Varied it up with drop punts and bananas around the corner. He's got it close up against the boundary line, looking for a drop punt. He's 5 metres in from the boundary, 40 metres out. He goes on the outside of the boot. And let's just say he didn't quite kick that very well. It hits the behind post for a boundary throw-in.
Variety's the spice of life.
I didn't quite know how to describe that one, to be honest.
Patrick Cripps gives you a little bit of everything.
That's ordinary is what that was.
That looked like me on the tee box somewhere on a golf course, just off the hosel, and it's short and wide, and I think he'd be taking a provisional there if that was a golf shot. Patrick Cripps. Stevenson from the stoppage inside the defensive 50 for the Roos. Blasts it out only as far as Sard. He's been really good tonight. Now Lockie O'Brien. Darts it inside the 50. Stevenson goes up. Young got dragged down by Silvani. Too high. Free kick going to the Roos defender inside the back 50. 9-4-58 North Melbourne. 17-12, 1-14 Carlton. The Roos haven't scored here in this final term.
There's been a bit of tardiness, I think, that's happened, creeped into this game a little bit. Just a bit of lack of concentration, skill errors just creeping everywhere.
Long ball up the line toward Larkey. Davies Uniacke takes it off the pack. He's caught by Walsh. Free kick going the way of the Blues, just defensive side of the broadcast wing. So just repeating that final score from Cairns, Port Adelaide 5 goals 13-43, have defeated St Kilda 4 goals 18-42. A pretty remarkable scoreline up there in the far north. Cherra's been dumped into the ground there and will get a free kick. Greenwood and Coleman Jones combining to tackle. Carroll's coming off for some treatment for the Blues on the boundary line. Cherra wheels away onto the right boot, sends it long. Mackay the target. Oh, he's out the back. Bossanavalangi comes in strong. Locks the football up in the left forward pocket for the Blues. And we'll have another ball up.
We're under the pump at the moment. The defenders of the Kangaroos here, just consecutive inside forward 50s and stoppages at the same time. I don't think they've been inside their forward 50 for a good 5 minutes.
They've owned the territory this term, Carlton, but they've only got 2 goals for to show for it. Feet of the pack. Owies is after it. He's tackled by Bailey Scott. Now Wiedering's coming off with a bit of help from the trainers.
Sorry, Joel. Horn Francis is out there, which is a good sign.
It is a good sign. Just getting a little bit of attention on his neck when he came off. Young tried to clear the danger area for the Roos. Cherra flips the handball forward looking for Cripps. Top of the goal square for Carlton. Goldie was there to release the pressure. Perez tumbles it outside the defensive 50. Now Curtis is there. He's taken by Doherty in a tackle and a ball up in line with the front edge of the square. Carlton still camped across half forward. They blew the game open in the third term, did the Blues. 7 goals 3 to North Melbourne's 2 goals. And it's 14 inside 50s to 2 here in this final term. Horn Francis has the ball in his hands, kicks up the line, North players everywhere. Zurhaar takes the mark. Larkey leads back to the pocket. That's the direction in which Zurhaar goes. Nunes got across to effect the spoil, taken by Curtis. Clever centering kick. And he finds Greenwood. 35 out, slight angle right of centre.
To me, it just looks as well, it's just that the North Melbourne forwards are just too close together that allows their defenders to come off. They've done well here to get a shot on goal.
First season at North Melbourne for Hugh Greenwood, former Crow and Son. He's kicked 1 goal in Roos colours and Dobbs a second there. Their first score of this final term comes at the 24-minute mark through Hugh Greenwood. And it is North Melbourne trailing Carlton by an even 50 points. 17-12, 114 the Blues to North 10-4, 64. We've played 23 minutes in this final term. Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington, your experts. And Kes, Hugh Greenwood, a former basketball counterpart of yours out of Tassie, spent some time at college in the States, and he's been pretty important for the Roos in the early part of the season.
Well, he has, and I think the thing that he's bought from Gold Coast, or the one wood of his game, is his tackle pressure and his ability to defend around the contest. And be at the coalface, he's a pretty big body for a midfielder. He's gone head-to-head with Cripps for most of the game here, and he's done pretty well. He hasn't had a lot of help from the midfielders around him, but the ability for him to push forward and impact the scoreboards is important.
So ball back in the middle. Cherra spins his way, dances his way away from the stoppage. Kicks inside the forward 50. Mackay had a run at it, slips out the back. Bossanavalangi there for North Melbourne. Handball to Young, handball to Turner. Flicks it over the top now to Horn Francis, who kicks outside the defensive 50 up toward the wing, and there is Hugh Greenwood, who marks arms outstretched above his head. Look back into the corridor to try and find an aggressive option. Just daps it up the line towards Zeeble. He's been starved to opportunity tonight, but probably looks better as a forward than at the other end of the ground. That's an awkward kick, slid off the side of the boot, up toward Larkey. Doherty knocked it away and then took it at ground level. Handball back to Kennedy and to Young. That was a nifty kick off the side of his boot.
He's got some tricks.
Goes and finds Fisher to Nunes and now Sard as they open up the centre of the ground. The Blues bursting inside the 50. Kick had too much height on it for Curnow. The North defence mops up through Walker and Perez. He's been pretty impressive tonight. Flynn Perez up to disposal, number 12 to McDonald to Scott. Sold him into trouble. Newman got him holding the ball.
Super tackle. Well executed.
Your defensive coach at the Blues in the AFLW, Kez, be pretty happy with that.
Yeah, he'd certainly let us know on Monday if one of us did that, so I'm sure we might get that sent on the WhatsApp group tomorrow.
Sard to Doherty. Inboard to Nunes. Now out wide to Doherty, coming up for disposal, number 33. He's had a real renaissance since returning to this Carlton team. We know all the health challenges he's gone through. Terrific to see him back out there playing some great footy. Lovely kick from Newman on the left boot to Cripps. Cripps inside the 50. Like Chera, in fact, kicked to Cripps, who was steaming out from full forward. Couldn't take the mark. Davies Uniacke sent it back into the centre of the ground. And taking the mark for North Melbourne is Zerha to Zeeble. Pushed at the last moment by Newman. Laney Gloucester says back on the mark, Nick. It wasn't calling a 50.
I think he was trying to milk it there, Joel.
Zeeble, he did go to ground. He kicks inside the forward 50. Larkey's there and Young fists it down into the North Melbourne race. Been good tonight for the Blues, the big defender.
Zeeble just grabbed his hamstring, high hamstring, after that kick. So it's not something that North Melbourne would want under a minute in this last quarter.
The last thing you need when you're down by 50 points is for your skipper to go down with an injury. DeConing goes solo in ruck. Cripps. Handball taken by Greenwood inside the defensive 50 for the Blues. Kennedy just bashes it out by foot. Oh, wonderful mark. Coleman Jones down low, scooping it in with his right hand and controlling it. That was a trick from the big fella. Shoots it defensively to Turner. Now to Walker. The Geelong product goes out wide and finds Curtis Taylor. Handball inboard to Scott. The Roos moving the footy forward. Scott's kick cut off by Durden in the dying seconds. The Blues beaten last week in the West. They return to Melbourne and get a big win over the Roos. The Blues bounce back and they return to the winners list in a big way, beating North Melbourne by 50 points under the roof here at Docklands. We are the old dark Navy Blues. We're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions they like to send up. We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues. They were made to earn it early, Carlton. They led by 17 points at quarter time. North kicked 5 goals in the second term, and Carlton's lead at half time was 8 points. But they blew the game open with their first third quarter win of the season. They outscored North Melbourne by 32, kicking 7 goals 3, and extended the lead by 10 in the final term to win by 50 points. Harry Mackay kicked 4, Charlie Curnow kicked 3, Martin kicked 2, singles to Owies, Nunes, Walsh, Cripps, Chera, Carroll on debut. Even Jacob Wiedering got in on the act as Carlton won big on Saturday night footy. Dark Navy Blues, we're the team that never lets you down. We're the only team old Carlton knows. We're all the champions they like to send up. We'll keep our end up, and they will know that they've been playing against the famous old dark Blues. So a 50-point win to Carlton puts them into the top 6 after Geelong's loss earlier today to Fremantle. 17-12, 114 to North Melbourne, 10-4-64. They joined Richmond, massive winners last night over West Coast. The Dockers over the Cats today. GWS, Melbourne as winners so far in round 7. Of course, Port Adelaide in somewhat of a thriller over St Kilda tonight, 43-42. In a game where it ended with 11 consecutive behinds being scored between the two teams. And it was a 50-point win to Carlton under the roof here at Docklands. Chris Johnson and Karen Harrington were with us on Grandstand AFL to see it all unfold, and it took them a while to really get going, but I think Michael Voss and the Carlton crew, Jono, would be pretty happy with the way they bounced back.
Yeah, they are, Joel. They've played some good footy this year. They've done well. They've earned their wins. Certainly after half time, they earned this win tonight. Their first half, I think, was okay. It was up to a standard, but I thought the first half, North Melbourne they weren't too bad. They brought their game. They brought their competitiveness. They were hitting targets. Their forward entries weren't good, but I think they asked Carlton the question in the first two quarters. And to Carlton's credit, they went in at the break at half time and probably sat down with each other, Kez, and looked at each other in the eye and sort of said, this is not the way we want to play football, and this is not what we want for the second half. If we keep playing like this, we're probably not going to get the 4 points. And I reckon there were some hard, honest conversations with each other, talking about how they can improve, and they came out in the second half and they've done that. I think they kicked the first 3 goals, I think, consecutive. I think it was close to that. I haven't got the stat in front of me here, but Joel, you can correct me on that. But I think what they were able to do is that's the maturity of Carlton where they need to get to. Now, if they had been up against a more sort of senior team, if you look on the ladder, if it was coming up against, say, maybe Richmond, Collingwood, Hawthorn, or potentially an Eagles or a Bulldogs, not the last team on the ladder, that may have been a different story in the first half. And, you look through all the stats for the Blue Boys as, they pretty much, it was pretty even most of the night. The inside forward 50s, I think that's where the big jump was. I think it was 18 difference there. I think it was 42 to 60, if my eyes serve me correctly.
Spot on.
It does. So that's the difference. By the weight of numbers, the more that you get inside the forward 50, the more opportunities you're going to have in terms of shots on goal. And then the clearances around the ground, it was probably, a +9 to a +10 in favour of Carlton. Cripps was fantastic. I think he had 10 clearances on his own at the same time. So I think Blues just sort of flexed their muscles a bit, Kez, and that's what they need to do. And, if they had played a better opposition tonight, they probably would have been in more trouble, and we would have seen a game that probably would have stretched halfway through the last quarter.
Yeah, I think you've summed it up really well there, Jono. I think, for Carlton, with where they're at the moment, it's been quite a fast improve from where they were last year, and there's going to be fluctuations in their form and those sort of things that comes with that. And I guess the expectation, externally on this group is that they're supposed to be, around the mark, and not only in finals but winning finals. So they're going to go through fluctuations of form, and we saw that even tonight. I wouldn't necessarily say they played poorly in the first half, and I thought you summed it up really well. They just weren't on. They weren't off and poor. That it wasn't skill, execution or turnovers that was costing them. They just were probably kicking around in about second or third gear. And what they did really well, I think, is go into halftime, have that, perhaps look at each other and go, right, what are we actually about here? And come out in the second half and went to fourth and fifth gear. And you saw the absolute superstars of the team in Mackay and Cripps and Sard and Doherty and things rose to the top.
A nice moment for young Jack Carroll, who leads the Blues down the race. They all waited for him to walk in there first. The president, Luke Sayers, and the footy manager, Brad Lloyd, were right at the top of the race, waiting for the players to wander down there as well. So a nice moment for Jack Carroll, who made an impact. He got slammed over the boundary line in his opening touch, and then went forward and kicked a goal with his first disposal in league football. So a night that he will remember, and certainly it was worth remembering for Carlton, a 50-point win. We'll get to the North Melbourne side of things shortly. We'll bring you the song and some reaction from the Carlton rooms. Jess Webster's pulling double duty for us tonight, so she's been calling the action and she's ventured into the Blues rooms. Jess, what's the mood like in there?
Yeah, certainly getting my steps up tonight. Pretty energetic Carlton rooms at the moment as the players are just making their way into the circle. No doubt Jack Carroll, the debutant, who's already getting sprayed with a sports drink in the middle of the circle. I think that is going to continue for a few minutes longer. And players just getting into their positions. The Blues back on the winners list in style by 50 points over North Melbourne as Jack Carroll cops it in the centre circle. And here we go with the song.
Pretty happy Blues crew. Just before you grab some reaction from them, Jess, we could see a TV shot of that. You look like you kept yourself pretty well out of the firing line of the sports drink there.
I've done this before, guys, so I know my way around. So.
Not Jess Webster's first rodeo. Down in the rooms, she'll grab some reaction from the Blues very shortly. A 50-point win to Carlton, 17-12, 114 to 10 64. St Kilda went down by a point tonight to Port Adelaide, 18-42 the Saints to the Power 5, 13-43. For North Melbourne, we knew it was going to be a tough assignment tonight, Kez. They were undermanned in terms of their key defence. They lost Aidan Corr as the laid out before the game. They didn't have Ben Mackay coming in, and it pretty much went to script. I mean, they held Carlton for a half. As we've said, they got blown away in that second half. It went almost the exact way that you thought it might in terms of the margin and maybe even the game script.
Yep, you've absolutely nailed it there too, Joel. I think if you're, as a Carlton supporter coming into the game, it's about exactly where you thought that the game would and should end up. North did a great job. We talked about that at half-time. Their ability to zone defend behind the ball was impressive. I really liked that about them. They looked organised. They let themselves down, or Carlton certainly got the better of them doing that and trying to, particularly come back through the corridor in the second half and got on top of them there. But I guess the question for North is where to from here? What they do well, besides that defensive lockdown behind the ball, what else do they do well? That's I think where the question is.
It's going to be a long season. They've got plenty of questions ahead. We'll dissect that as we go throughout with you for about another 15 minutes or so here on Grandstand AFL, and Jess Webster has quickly been able to grab one of the star performers tonight. Jess.
Yeah, thanks, Joel. And with Jacob Wiedering, star defender, great performance tonight. Really was the third quarter. You had a 1-1 coming into this game. You piled on 7 goals to break the game open. Must be a really satisfying victory.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I starred. I think I just did my role. I was able to snag one in that third quarter or fourth quarter, whenever it was. But no, it was a massive team effort today. I guess Vossi was honest to respond after last week. It was disappointing to go over to Perth and lose the way we did, and to lose a couple of guys as well. And then, guys contribute. Lockie came in, did a super job. Stock came in, and you saw the bump, lays his body on the line, and I guess pays the price. But we get the win in the end. It was a great way to respond. The boys played super.
And you did manage to get on the end of a goal. Your first in 4 years going back to 2018, and the boys certainly got around you. What was that feeling like?
No, look, I was pretty happy. I wasn't too sure what was going on there for a little while. I obviously got the ball, and then there was a double or triple 50, whatever it was, and it was just it was nice to hit the scoreboard for sure. But as I said, I think there was 10 or 11 goal scorers tonight for us, so it shows the spread. We're spreading the load, and again, boys just did their job all over the field.
We love defenders kicking goals, and 2 people in our commentary box upstairs really loved it. Carlton defender Karen Harrington and Brisbane triple premiership defender Chris Johnson. Let's kick it upstairs to you guys.
Jacob, g'day. It's Kez Harrington. Well done on the win tonight. Wanted to ask you, we chatted up here a little bit about the inclusion of Lockie Young for you guys this year, and just the ability for, in particular, yourself and Doc to be able to get up the ground and just to have another big body behind the ball. Can you just talk us through kind of the role that he's been able to play since coming in?
Yeah, firstly, good to hear from you, Kez. I'd say you're the star key defender down at Carlton there, and you, Jono, as well. Hello to you. But no, look, Youngie and I guess other contributors too. We had a few changes down back, and I guess tonight, if you look at the way Youngie played, he played with confidence. He was assertive. He intercepted the ball. He spoiled when he needed to. He should take really great confidence from his performance tonight, and I think he's cementing his place in the side. And I guess to what you were talking about before with the team defence, the boys up the field are doing a super job as well. We're winning centre bounce. We're really strong in contested ball, and the forwards are win-halving it. And I guess you saw the pressure we were applying tonight, which we've somewhat failed to do across 4 quarters, and I think we did that tonight.
Weeders, Jono, mate, come on, buddy. When the media say that you're the superstar of the game, you've got to take it as defenders, because you never get it, mate. So take it when you can, all right?
As I've said, I think I've said it in the past. Forwards and mid-cell memberships, backs win premierships, John. And you know it all.
Yes.
You would know all about that.
Yes,
so, no, I'll take it.
Look, tonight I thought it was a really good performance. You sort of challenged in the first half. The Kangaroos stayed with you for a little bit. And then was there something mentioned at half-time, mate? Because I guess Kez and myself were talking about it, that I guess the response that you guys had in the first 10 minutes of that third quarter was really, really noticeable from where we were sitting.
Yeah, I guess it's been noticeable in our recent games that we probably haven't been able to come out the way we wanted to post half-time. And we haven't made too many changes. We've just made sure that we're ready mentally and then obviously physically. And we just go back to what we've been doing. We've had some great starts. As I said, our strength is contested ball and winning it out of the middle, and our middies did a super job at that. So we've got leaders all over the ground tonight, and they stood up.
Now, as a back 6, 7 or 8 or whatever you want to call it, do you just watch other teams and try to replicate them? Because I've seen a little bit of a Melbourne type of defence tonight.
Yeah, there's a little bit of watching. I guess with a fresh pair of eyes, like we had all our line coaches were changed over. Vossi obviously comes in, and we're playing a team brand of defence, and I guess it's consistently doing the job at the moment.
We know you've got to run off to a team meeting, Jacob.
Yes.
Well done tonight on the performance, and best of luck for everything that's ahead.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
Jacob Wiedering in the Carlton rooms. Good to get a quick bit of reaction before they head off into the meeting, and I would imagine that Michael Voss would be pretty pleased with their second half.
Yeah, look, and we had. I really wanted to ask that question because we spoke about it, Kez, a fair bit, and they did come out in that third term in the first 10 minutes or so, and really we've seen a different Carlton what we did in the first half. So I would have thought that he'll walk away, and I know Vossi from. I was underneath him as a player and underneath him as a coach, and I think as a coach he'll take the wins when he takes the wins, but certainly that first half he'll take a lot out of that first half at the same time when they were challenged and how they went about it and how they were able to change that gear after half time. But I think you mentioned that they were 14th in third quarter wins?
Dead last. So hadn't won one, the only team in the comp.
So I'm tipping Vossi and the rest of the coaching staff are going to walk away from that. Even though it was the bottom of the ladder team, they're going to walk away and say, hey, you've got to do it sometime or another.
The text coming through on 0437 774 774 asking what the final score in the NBL was. Of course, the Jack Jumpers, for our audience in Tasmania tonight, were going up against Melbourne United in the NBL, the second game of that playoff series. 79-72, the Jack Jumpers, the final score there. So a nice win to level the series at 1-1 coming back to Melbourne. The Hawks and the Kings tomorrow in the second game of their series. The Kings up 1-0 in their final series. Earlier tonight, Port Adelaide a 1-point win over St Kilda. Freo 3-point winners over Geelong. GWS by 59 over Adelaide, and Melbourne by 10 points over Hawthorn. We spoke about North Melbourne, Kez, and the fact that the injury toll is mounting now. So next week they've got Freo North. Now that game, just thinking about Aidan Corr, that game is on Friday night. So Aidan Corr won't be available for that because he's in the health and safety protocols as of today. So 7 days takes him past Friday night. So they still don't have him for that. They're still with. They should get Mackay back. So he will come back from that suspension. So that will certainly help them. But they're still going to have to string together a bit of a defence in terms of just getting through next week against a pretty red-hot Dockers team, let alone for the rest of the season. There's some bright sparks. We know the young talent that they've got in North Melbourne, but they're just, in terms of that star factor, and when you saw it with Carlton, when you could see when they were down, you at least had the Cripps and these kind of guys who were really leading the way for them. Horn Francis, we know, is a great player. We know Simpkins, reliable. Davies Uniacke, he's probably reliable. But it's just that next level of really A-plus graders that they just don't seem to have at the moment. Or at least potential A-plus graders.
Well, you're absolutely right. And, I mean, just sorry to go back to your point before. So they've got Freo away next week, and it doesn't get any easier for them over the next month. They head to Tassie to play Port, back here against Melbourne, and then St Kilda as well. So the next month doesn't get any easier, coming off already a pretty ordinary month that it has been. My question would be, I guess, with North is, where's their list at? So, they've got, as we run through the list, they've got quite a lot of younger talent, and obviously led by Horn Francis with the number one pick that's just gone through. Zeebel's 31. Simpkins 24, so he's not a bad age, and, probably quite clearly their key defender, obviously without Mackay tonight, was Walker. He's 29. And I'm just question kind of where they're going, and obviously who'd I miss there with Goldie? Sorry, Goldie's 33 himself. So it's a real, I guess, the question I'd be asking North Melbourne is where's your list structure, and are you prepared to go out and try and get those big fish? We know that they've tried to do that in the past and have really, I guess, failed in their attempts to acquire some really A-grade talent. They went to the draft this year, and it's going to be a long road ahead for the next 4 or 5 years with North with this current list. So I guess do they really go all in and try and go after that A-grader, or do they stick with what they've got and perhaps tip out some of that older talent over the next season or two and keep bringing in the youth and try and build?
You can go back 8 or 9 years, and North Melbourne have been just about the worst drafting side in the competition. So, Simpkin was a pick 12, and he's really good value. But they've given away picks, they've wasted picks. There's been some players that they've got really good value for, but their trade and their list management and their drafting has been, for a side that's been rebuilding for as long as they have, a lot of the time they really haven't helped themselves.
Well, the big thing is it's something about they have to look at how they're looking to land that big fish. They haven't been able to land a big fish for a long, long time. They've been trying and trying. They've tried Dustin, and they've tried a few others as well at the same time, and no one's really come. If you look at, this is no knock on Greenwood, but he's not a big fish. He's come from the Gold Coast Sun and was probably a run-with player. If he's getting a game in this side, well, you're not going too much further. I think at the moment they need to look at some of the players that are in their third or fourth year that need to go up a notch. They need to go up another 25% in terms of what they're putting out on the football field. And now if they're not up to the level, well, they need to look about trading them out and getting some more older senior players in that are probably around that 28, 27-year-old sort of mark and have got experience. They're going to compete consistently, because I think, you look at a Curtis Taylor, a Jack Marnie, and I love these kids. I've coached them before as young fellas. I think they've got make-up to be those players, and I think players like them have just got to step up a little bit more and be able to get through that. And even Scott, to that extent as well.
Who was good tonight, 23 disposals.
Yeah, very, very good. But where are the others with him as well? You look down underneath him, you've got Simpkin, you've got Horn Francis, you've got McDonald off a half-back flank, then you've got Goldie. Turner was good, he's off a half-back. Does his possessions really penetrate anyone? I wouldn't have thought so. But Davey Uniacke, I thought he was pretty good tonight. Stevenson, again, would like more out of him. So I think there's an improvement by about 25% in around 10 to 15 of those players out there tonight.
And they need it. And, of course, they've still got Will Phillips to come back. We know that Aaron Hall's injured. Ben Cunnington, they're not sure when they'll get him back. So they've got a few players out, but there doesn't look like there's a lot of real difference makers, and certainly not making a 50-point difference anytime soon for North. 10-4-64, they go down to Carlton 17-12, 114. So Carlton jump back into the top 6 ahead of Geelong, who lost to Fremantle earlier today. Kez, you've got the honour for the first time here on Grandstand AFL of the votes in the ABC Footballer of the Year. You're 3-2-1 for tonight.
There's a bit of pressure in this, Jono. As I said before, I gave Berkey a bit of a clip last week because he went to give some defenders some votes, and I jumped over him and thought that Gorney deserved a couple of votes. But my first apology is to my skipper, I guess you could say, at Carlton, Patrick Cripps. Apologies, Cripper.
So Cripps has had 35 disposals and kicked 1 goal too, with 10 clearances and 5 inside 50s, and doesn't get in the vote.
Yeah, perhaps if he had kicked 3 goals straight, I might have managed to find a vote for him. But
and with drop punts.
With some drop punts. Perhaps if he had not have gone around the corner. So apologies, Cripper. 1 vote, I thought, to a guy that was terrific early, particularly off the half-back line, provided Carlton with a heap of run, and we talked about handball receives, and that is to Adam Sard. He had 25 touches, going at 88%. He had 470 metres gain and 12 intercept possessions. We spoke about him throughout the night, about his ability to get a hand in and make what seemed to be an uncontested possession for North Melbourne into a 50-50 ball. 2 votes to Big H up forward. He kicked 4 goals, 2 behinds. Still shaking my head at the fact that he tried to kick around the body from 48 metres on the boundary. He had 15 touches, but what impressed me the most about him was his work around the ground, the ability for him to be that long down the line target. And it's all good and well to be the long down the line target and make a contest, and we do appreciate that, particularly as defenders when we're trying to transition out of the back line moving forward. But his ability to actually pluck the contested mark is something that really sets him apart from other forwards at the moment. So 2 votes to Big H, 3 votes to Sam Doherty, who I thought was clearly the best on ground. Had 33 touches, went at 76% disposal efficiency. He himself had 6 intercept possessions and 7 score involvements, and he amassed 508 metres gained. So for a guy that's playing, and we did talk about throughout the night about his ability to get up the ground and play a little bit of a different role perhaps than what he's done in the last, say, month of football, but get involved at the back of stoppages and be a real driver of Carlton ball movement moving forward. So there's my 3-2-1. How'd I go?
Not bad. Doherty, it's just good to see him back playing footy, isn't it? And to play the standard that he's playing, John, but just to be back out
he's
there.
A high level, and he's a great user of the ball. And I like Mackay's game. 11 marks he had, so that wasn't just in his forward 50 arc. That was up the ground, and I reckon a majority of those, 50% of them would have been contested as well at some stage. Well done.
Nice debut effort from Karen Harrington in the votes. Jess has run back up the stairs, got the steps up.
That's who you left out of the votes, Jess, because she went up and down.
Apologies, Jess. That goes without saying.
Well, I've just hit my weekly goal for zone minutes on my watch, so Carlton aren't the only ones kicking goals tonight.
You'll be out
getting
there.
my fitness up.
I was going to say, if the subs didn't get used, you might have been out there doing the running session with them. What was the mood like in the Carlton rooms?
Yeah, I think just really satisfied, to bounce back. You can kind of tell when a team is satisfied with having just gotten a really big win on the board. They're not like ecstatic. It's not like, kicked a goal after the siren against, a quality team kind of areas. But they came here, they needed to do that and got through the first half. And, I guess if I had to sum it up in one word, I would just say content.
Bit of business as usual now for Carlton, winning those kind of games, they would hope. So tomorrow on Grandstand AFL, various parts of the network, and of course our NRL coverage continues via the ABC Listen app as well. On the AFL app, no matter where you are, you'll get all of these games, and of course on local radio you'll get our coverage too. So Collingwood and the Gold Coast, that game is at the MCG, the early game tomorrow. You'll be there, Kez, along with Nathan Burke, myself and Andrew Mays. The Western Bulldogs and Essendon, the middle game here at Docklands, 12 versus 16th, and of course the rematch of the elimination final last year. Unlikely that they're going to be 12 and 13th. And then tomorrow, Jono, the game of the round just about finishes things off at the SCG. Your Lions against the Swans. That's going to be a ripper.
It is. And look, the Lions have been, I think, at various times this year have been very, very good. And at different times they have lapsed concentration as well at the same time. They need to be on for the 4 quarters next week, tomorrow night or tomorrow day against a professional outfit in the Swans.
Might just about be the second seed if they get over the line there tomorrow night. Thanks, Kez. Thanks, Jono. Great to be with you. Thanks to Jess, to Stu here, to Adam Jones back in the studio. Big day of football, and Carlton, big winners. They return to the winners list in a big way, led by their 2 spearheads in Charlie Curnow and Harry Mackay. 7 goals and plenty of opportunity between them. They beat North Melbourne by 50 points.
The election. It's easy to get lost amongst the polls, policies and pledges. If only there was a way you could make more sense of it. Bridget Brennan from ABC News has an election hack, a way to find out how your views compare to the major parties.
Go online to Vote Compass, answer a few quick questions. You may be surprised where you stand on the political spectrum.
Vote Compass, exclusive to the ABC.
Go to abc.net.au/Australia Votes.
Your home of rugby. ABC Sport.
Perhaps the match of the round takes place right at the back end from the SCG on Sunday afternoon in the twilight. It's the Sydney Swans taking on the Brisbane Lions. Both sides a great start to the season with 5 wins and 1 loss. Luke Parker from the Swans has been good enough to join us to preview that clash. Luke, welcome. Congratulations on a great start to the season.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Cheers for having me. It's been a nicer start than some other years I've had in the time, but look, we're on a little bit of a roll, and we'll have a big test this weekend, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've just talked about the West Coast Eagles. There's a few other clubs, Port Adelaide, whose shoes you wouldn't want to be in. Tell us a bit about the review from last week at Launceston, because, geez, the second half was impressive, including the last quarter, but Hawthorn flew out of the gates and you had a real scrap there for the first half, but the maturity of the group was you were able to find a way to eventually prevail with the 4 points.
Yeah, look, they were really good early, especially their heat around the ball and attack on the player was really good. And you can see the style of football they're trying to play each week, and it's one that stands up in big games. And look, we were able to get it kind of back on our terms. We felt we had the game on our terms kind of that second, third quarter, but just couldn't capitalise on the scoreboard. And it got a bit tight, but then look, that last quarter the boys came home pretty powerfully, which was good to see. So it was one of those games that we had to fight back into. But as you said, the maturity of some of the young boys to not just drop their head, because it's very easy when you start off 5 goals up and just to drop your head and give up for the day. But look, they were really good in the way we responded.
Luke, you've got an amazing team of young blokes who have been fantastic, but I want to ask you, what's Brisbane's main strengths that you need to stop to win this game?
Oh, I think they're really good, obviously all over the park. I think their forward line, they've got 3 genuine talls, and their smalls are the ones that have been just as dangerous. So they can kick goals through multiple avenues. And I think that they play a finals-like kind of style. They tend to go a bit more long down the line and direct, and win the ball at the contest and back themselves to win the contested possession and then explode from there. So, look, that's an area that we need to match them and beat them in. So it'll be a good contest, especially for some of our young boys. They seem to play really well in these bigger games and back themselves, which will be exciting to see tomorrow.
Luke, back to your team, and you mentioned maturity and young boys. One guy who I think's really embodied that maturity is Callum Mills, who's gone to the midfield, pretty well full time now. And there's been some selfless stuff from you and Josh Kennedy to be able to free up some time in there, no doubt. But he's 25, over 100 games now, really coming into his prime. It looks like he's just ready to, if he hasn't already, really take the competition by storm.
Yeah, look, he's been fantastic all year and really set the barometer for us each week. I think he's a workhorse out on the field. I think that starts off the field for him. He's always on and always doing the extras. And look, he's a tough one. He's fit. He's hard. He gets to a lot of contests and he's clean when he gets there. So, and then he has the ability to shut other guys out of the game when it calls upon him. So, look, he's been a mainstay this year especially, and has been, if not our best player of the season so far. So look, first year as captain, he seems to be really just thriving in that role and responsibility, and I'm sure he'll just continue to grow over this season and the coming.
We spoke about Melbourne before, just obviously the benchmark at the moment and the challenges they've had this week, but the strength of a good team is to have that squad of 30, 32 to be able to guys to be able to step up when someone's down. It looks like that's what you're really developing at the moment. And I mentioned some of yourself and some of the senior players who are playing in slightly different roles. How does Horse go about, cultivating that sort of mentality within the group where, okay, some senior guys have been there for a while, you're going to have to play some selfless roles, you're going to have to maybe do the thing for the team. How does Horse go about doing that?
I think Horse has been really brilliant in terms of getting the buy-in from all players, whether it's their first game or 250th game. That at the moment we need guys just to play roles, and that seems to be what stood up over the last few seasons with teams playing deep into finals and winning grand finals, is that selfless footy and backing the blokes who play their role the best in those positions, and other guys playing their roles and sacrificing at times. And we think that's a real strength of ours, and I think it's an ongoing process. You always got to keep it in check, because it's just the way football and the footballers are. You want to get your lick of the ice cream, but at the same time, I think it's just to make sure that we're just enjoying each other's successes and enjoying winning. I think the hardest thing is to keep the guys who are on that fringe and just on the outer who are playing some brilliant football in the reserves, keep them hungry and keep them engaged, is such a tough thing when you're in this position. But for a club, it's a great position to be in.
Luke Parker from the Sydney Swans has joined us on ABC Sport. Obviously, Luke, there's been a fair bit chatted about with Paddy McCartan and the fears that it was another concussion on Sunday. It sounds like the news is better than that. Has he been around the club much this week, and what's it been like for him?
Yeah, he's been around the club the whole time. I think in the end it was just precautionary. He felt really good during the game and after the game, and I think they just made the call. So unfortunately, he has to miss this week. But it's great to see it's nothing that'll hold him back for the rest of the year. I think he's been had such a great attitude, getting his second chance of AFL footy and really just thriving being up here and playing with his brother and playing some really good football. So it was great to see him back out there, and fortunately we'll be able to continue seeing him. So it wasn't anything too serious, which is good to hear.
Yeah, so have you done that concussion test? Was it reciting 4 or 5 numbers backwards? Was that what he failed in the end?
Oh, mate, I think it's about 10 words you got to remember, and I don't even remember having a good day. So I think the problem was he tested too well in pre-season, and then I think that's the hard thing. It's a hard test when your mind's in the game, and you can do the test in pre-season when you're not thinking about anything, but when your mind's in the game and you got other things on your mind, it's probably a pretty hard test to pass anyway. So, but look, I think from his history and precautions, the doctors made the call that they had to, and look, I think that's what they're doing at the moment. So, the good thing is he'll be back in next week, if not the week after.
He's another example of what Sydney have done so well in target players and bringing players to your club. We saw Peter Laddams get his opportunity with, I think he had 8 score involvements for the game alongside sort of Tom Hickey, who filled the void when Sam Naismith obviously went down. So as a club, you've been able to find these players who really target the areas in which you've allowed the young guys to come in and continue their development, but also complement that with some senior players who you've really targeted.
Yeah, the club's been brilliant with finding those kinds of players, and I know we wanted, I think, Laddams the year before, and we were able to get Hick, and his maturity and the way he goes about his football and sees the game differently has been really refreshing for our club, and it's great just to get different experiences and different personalities through the doors, and as we said, Pete took his opportunity when Hick went down a few weeks ago and has strung some really good football together. So look, it'll be interesting and good to see how I think you can fit Hick and Laddams in the same team, whether it's a bit of a gone situation in Melbourne with Jackson as well. So whether it's a forward ruck combo, but look, the more experience and big boys we can get out there, they're going really well for us.
Hey, Luke, you've got a great bunch of kids who've come through and just really done well. I'm more so thinking about Campbell, McInerney, Warner, Golding, those sort of types around the place, that how are they holding up in their second year? Because it's a tough grind for 2 years in a row and when you're young.
Yeah, it is, and I think they're the ones that they just need to keep themselves in check. I think it's easy as you probably have the bigger ebbs and flows when you're younger, and it's more getting to that grind of what stands up week to week. And look, we've got a really good bunch of kids that they're really close. They work hard and they're